should be good now. At least I hope so. Did I? Looks like I did. That's good. Did it? What about? All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna start off with the direct. Haven't watched anything of it yet, so I guess we'll watch it then. Oh, it looks like we're starting off with Fire Emblem. Sounds like 3 houses. Looks like 3 houses. Oh, Fire Emblem Warriors DLC. Eh.
The cycle of this world. I will not allow it to perish with you.
Of course, it's female Violet.
I seek to destroy the irrational power structure that shackles Fodlan.
If the kingdom is ever to part ways with our bloody past, this is the path we must walk.
I have ambitions, Edelgard. Real ones.
Let's go, Claude.
Will you sit around and wait for a miracle? Or will you help me seize control of my fate?
We shall fight. We shall survive. And we shall win a glorious future for Fodlan.
But now that I know, I won't make the same mistake again.
Revenge is not a sin you take for someone else. You seek revenge to slake your rage and heal your wounded heart. I know you are prepared to do whatever that you must.
I mean, it looks like fun DLC, but I probably won't end up getting it.
Hello everyone, I'm Shinya Takahashi, and I'll be your guide for today's Nintendo Direct. What you just saw was the trailer for the Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes game. We hope you'll look forward to a different story set in the same universe as Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Let's see the first batch of Nintendo Switch headlines.
Alright, so what do we got?
The Orange Star Nation needs you. We've got more intel on the Advance Wars 1+2 Reap Bootcamp game. In the first campaign, Advance Wars, you'll advise a colorful cast of commanding officers and use their abilities in vibrant turn-based battles. Each commanding officer is now voiced, bringing even more charm to these characters.
You're gonna get hurt.
I see right through your plans.
I mean, I haven't played
Another full
the
campaign
original
awaits
Advanced
in
Wars, so
Advance
I'm
Wars
not really
2
too
Black
sure
Hole
what
Rising. More commanding officers and
expect.
more diverse terrain can be leveraged for additional tactical opportunities. like blasting through pipelines to cross into enemy territory. In both campaigns, you can fast-forward gameplay and reset your turns for a smoother tactical experience. Flex your strategic muscles outside of both campaigns with additional modes. Go for high scores in the War Room. Create and share custom maps in the Design Room. Or battle friends and frenemies in local and online multiplayer. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp marches onto the Nintendo Switch system April 8th. Pre-orders are available now on Nintendo eShop.
Nice.
Explore an infinite universe. In No Man's Sky, every star is the light of a distant sun.
Oh, they're bringing No Man's Sky to
Each
Switch?
orbited by planets
I heard it got a little bit
life.
better with
Travel
updates,
to
so
planets of your choosing
I was
in this
really
infinite,
hyped when it was
procedurally
like
generated
announced, but like
universe.
I'm pretty sure
Here,
everyone
you'll
was.
discover extraordinary lands and creatures that have never been seen before and may never be seen again. To survive, you must craft your own tools and even your own place to live.
Yeah, I initially didn't have
In this
that.
living and breathing universe, trade convoys travel between stars. Factions vie for territory. Pirates hunt unwary travelers. And the authorities are
Hey,
ever
how's it
watchful.
going?
Your
Just started
journey
watching the
may be
direct.
fraught with danger, and actions have consequences. Traitor.
I mean, the direct
Fighter.
started off pretty interesting with
Explorer.
Three Houses
How will
DLC
you live
for
in
Fire
this
Emblem
universe?
Warriors. I don't play Fire Emblem Warriors, but
No Man's Sky lands on
DLC
Nintendo
looks good,
Switch
though.
this summer.
is this Mario's? It does. Is it? Yo, they're bringing back Mario Strikers? Let's go. I mean, I heard the original is pretty good, and plus, like, who doesn't like the Waluigi hip thrust?
Mario Strikers Battle League. Prepare for Strike, a 5-on-5 sport like soccer that's way heavy on offense. Aim for goals by dribbling and passing to teammates, as well as by using tackles,
I haven't played it, but I assume it's fun.
items, and crushing special shots.
I mean, the nice thing is we got like new characters since
The main
then,
rule in this sport
so
is to rule the
I
field.
imagine that everyone else
Try
will
to
have
score
like
more goals than your opponents.
new abilities and stuff.
There are two things to keep in mind that'll help you with your strategies. First, the gear you equip. It changes not only your appearance, but also your stats like speed, strength, and pass accuracy. Customize as you see fit. Second, the Hyper Strike.
But what if I want
To
just
activate
like
this
aesthetics
shot,
with different
grab
boosts?
an orb when it appears on the field and charge it while your opponents are distracted. Hit the net and you'll score not one, but 2 goals.
In the original, or
Up to 8 players, 4 players on each team can compete against each other on one Nintendo Switch system.
what was the team?
In addition to individual matches, online play will have an online club mode. Join an in-game club and compete for placement in the rankings. Up to 20 players can join a club, so create your own and invite friends and family to play alongside you. Or join an existing one owned by other players. Try to become the world's top club. With items
Oh, there's item
tackles.
play too.
and hyper strikes. Anything goes on this field. Mario Strikers Battle League launches on Nintendo Switch June 10th.
Oh,
Pre-orders
okay.
begin today on Nintendo eShop.
Yeah, I haven't played the original, so I don't
The
know.
latest iteration of the Mario Strikers series.
All
is
that I know
coming
is
to
the
Nintendo Switch.
Waluigi hip thrust.
We hope you're excited
Was in
for
that
this
game.
anything goes battle soccer game. Next, please take a look at this.
Okay, what's this? Oh, Splatoon 3 probably. It looks like Splatoon 3. Salmon Run. I mean, I've only really played a little bit of the first Splatoon, so I'm not really too big into the series, but I guess it's fun for whoever likes it, so. This looks like a single player mode, but with you can do it with friends locally. I mean, I've heard good things about the series. I just haven't really played anything outside of like a little bit of the first one, so I don't really know. But the trailers are pretty good though, just in general. Salmon Run, next wave.
That was the trailer for the co-op mode in the Splatoon 3 game, the next wave of Salmon Run. A giant salmonid, one that's never been seen before, was also spotted at the end of the trailer. Will the Inklings and Octolings ink or swim? Splatoon 3 will launch this summer.
So
We hope you'll look forward to future updates.
The Inklings and the Octolings work
Let's
together
move on
now?
to more Nintendo Switch headlines.
Like, I knew that was a thing, and like after you beat the DLC in Splatoon 2.
At the ready.
But that's like all that I know.
A full remake of the first Front Mission game is storming onto Nintendo Switch.
I have no idea what this is.
In this tactical RPG, you'll pilot weaponized machines called Vanzers and lead your battalion to victory. Gain the upper hand in battle by aiming for enemy parts to
Okay,
destroy.
I kind of thought so.
Mix and match various weapons and parts to customize your Vanzer.
I mean,
Uncover the great storyline of this
I'm probably
classic
not gonna
when Front Mission 1 Remake
get into that
launches
game.
on Nintendo Switch this summer.
As much as I like
And in the future, the
JRPGs, I
sequel,
probably
Front
won't.
Mission 2 Remake, will also launch on Nintendo
get this
Switch.
game. Yeah, that part I know.
Get set for a high-octane Disney and Pixar combat racer.
But like with Splatoon 3, I don't really think there'd be a point
From
to
the
getting
creators of the
Splatoon
Asphalt series
2
comes
and the
rip-roaring
DLC.
racing action across Disney and Pixar-inspired racetracks. Race as a legendary roster of characters on high-speed circuits, using each one's special abilities to battle for victory across the finish line. Choose Mickey Mouse for symphonic speed, Sully for monstrous power, or Mulan for explosive maneuvers. Each racer also possesses powerful ultimate skills, perfect for turning the tables at the last second.
Okay, we get it, Disney. You want to be
Speedstorm is a free-to-play
Nintendo.
game with new seasons added regularly, bringing more exciting Disney and Pixar characters, circuits, karts, and more. Plus, enjoy cross-platform play as well as split-screen
Yeah.
and online multiplayer
I mean, I heard
modes.
it's supposed to be good, so
Disney Speedstorm races onto Nintendo Switch this summer.
like I like the character designs too, so
Dive
there's
into
that.
these classic franchises on Nintendo Switch. Unleash the power of the Force in this classic Star Wars action-adventure. As Darth Vader's
nice.
secret apprentice,
I remember
you'll use
that game was
devastating
supposed to
force
be pretty
powers
good.
and lightsaber combos as you hunt down Jedi Masters on iconic planets. Upgrade abilities like Force Grip and Force Repulse, then combine them for even more destructive combos. Use button controls or opt for motion controls, enhanced from the original Wii version. You can also duel locally with a friend
Oh no, I'm
to
thinking of
determine
the
who is the galaxy's most
PS2
powerful
game,
Jedi.
was it?
Star
I'm
Wars:
thinking of
The
this
Force
game.
Unleashed launches on Nintendo Switch April 20th. Pre-orders begin today on Nintendo eShop. The complete saga of legendary assassin
Ezio?
Auditore da
Oh,
Firenze
the
awaits
Ezio
in three
saga
critically
is
acclaimed
really good.
Assassin's Creed games. Explore Renaissance Italy and 16th century Constantinople. Interact with historical
Anyone who has
figures
not played the
and
Ezio
discover
saga
secrets of the
needs to.
Creed
It is
across 3
such a good.
games, 2 bonus short films,
It is such a
and
good
DLC.
series or
Plus, take advantage
genre
of
in the
enhanced features for the Nintendo Switch system on the go,
in the series.
including touchscreen controls, HD rumble, and optimized on-screen display. Assassin's Creed: The Ezio Collection launches on Nintendo Switch February 17th.
I actually might get this
Pilot mobile suits in dynamic action
because I haven't
RPG
played the Ezio
battles.
saga in such a long time.
Strange incidents called breaks are occurring across the Gundam universe. Find out what's causing them and restore the proper timeline. You'll lead 3 mobile suits in battle. Enhance each suit with parts to improve their power. You can also battle alongside friends in online co-op multiplayer. SD
Don't
Gundam
like,
Battle
the
Alliance
Assassin's
launches on
Creed
Nintendo
games.
Switch this year.
I mean,
Two worlds cross.
you
in
have
the
to know a
triumphant
lot of
return
stuff.
Of this RPG
Like, there's a lot of
classic.
like lore and stuff.
A remaster of
The
acclaimed
Ezio stuff
RPG
is like
Chrono
you don't
Cross
really
is
have to
coming
know
the
anything about
Nintendo
it,
Switch
so.
system. One
But I mean, it's
fateful
the
day,
same thing as like Kingdom
protagonist
Hearts, though.
Surge wanders into an alternate world. Though it somewhat resembles his homeworld, he finds that he no longer exists here. How did this happen? What is this mysterious another world? Travel back and forth between both worlds.
I mean, it's
to
not for
unravel the
everyone,
story.
especially if you like started
Over
off with
40
3.
characters can join your party.
Because Assassin's Creed
Depending
3
on the
sucked.
choices you make, the allies who accompany you and the endings that trigger will differ. A number of improvements have been made to this remaster, like the ability to turn off enemy encounters and a newly enhanced soundtrack. Plus, Radical Dreamers, originally released on the Satellaview, is included.
Oh, that must be nice.
Experience the origins of Chrono Cross in this text-based adventure. Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers Edition, dashes and slashes its way onto Nintendo Switch April 7th.
I'd rather have a remake
Pre-orders
of Chrono
begin
Trigger.
today on Nintendo eShop.
This Chrono Trigger is awesome. And more Kirby. No, Kirby, don't eat them all. Are we gonna get cussy? I'm sure that pleases someone somewhere.
It's Kirby's latest unforgettable 3D platforming adventure, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It all
This game
takes
is actually
place in a
looking really
mysterious
good.
world with an unusual mix of nature and civilization.
Like, I was kinda...
To rescue the kidnapped Waddle Dees, Kirby sets off
I
on
was
a
kind of
new
concerned
adventure.
about the whole, like, 3D Kirby stuff, but
Introducing
I don't know anymore. Like, it actually
Mouthful
kind of looks
mode.
pretty good.
Inhale a car to zoom around. A vending machine to attack with juice cans. Or become a piercing cone.
I mean, okay.
With Mouthful mode, new actions will be available for Kirby depending on
Oh
the
yeah, I'm
object
probably
he
gonna get
inhales.
this too, as soon as I'm able to and can afford
Enjoy
it.
exploring with new moves different from copy abilities. Kirby can even weaponize a mouthful of water, like this. As Kirby rescues Waddle Dees, Waddle Dee Town will continue to grow and more resources will become available. Waddle Dee's weapon shop, familiar copy abilities can be evolved. Evolve copy abilities to expand Kirby's
kind of
range
interesting.
of attacks. They'll also change Kirby's appearance
Kirby's
and make
Super
him
Kirby
even
Sunshine.
more
Yeah, pretty much.
powerful. Some copy abilities may have stronger evolved forms. A new adventure awaits our pink puffball.
Uh-oh, the furries are gonna have a field day with that.
What are these enemies trying to do? Can Kirby restore peace to this world? Kirby and the Forgotten Land launches on the Nintendo Switch system March 25th. Pre-orders
that's
are available
actually-
now on Nintendo eShop.
That's actually coming out pretty early, or yeah, a lot earlier
That
than I
was
thought it was
Kirby
gonna
and the
be.
Forgotten Land, launching later next month.
I mean, it looks pretty good, so
release.
I might get it.
Let's take a look at some more Nintendo Switch headlines.
任天堂ディレクトをご覧の皆さん、こんにちは。バッターの大谷翔平です。ピッチャーの大谷翔平です。任天堂スイッチ上で今回初めて MLB 打賞22が楽しめるよう
Who
になりまし
cares
た。
about the stupid baseball games?
That's right, Otani-san. MLB The Show is coming to Nintendo Switch. That means you can play modes like Road to the Show and Diamond Dynasty on your
is it?
Nintendo Switch. But that's not all. You can even play Exhibition with a single Joy-Con controller. With cross progression, you can also earn and use content on any platform where MLB The Show 22 is available. And take your progress on the go with you on Nintendo Switch. Have friends that play MLB The Show 22 online matches on other consoles? No need to worry. You can invite them and play online.
I mean, cool. I don't really care though.
I knew you were a true two-way player, but this is ridiculous. Sheesh.
You're gonna have your hands full of games with these collections. 3 Kingdom Hearts collections
Yep.
are almost here.
And I'm
From
probably
Kingdom Hearts to
gonna end
Kingdom
up.
Hearts 3 and the Remind DLC. Every entry is
Oh, the
coming to
Remind.
Nintendo Switch as cloud versions that can be played while connected to the internet.
Wait, can it
Relive
really
or
not
get to know these
run
heart-filled
Kingdom
adventures
3
alongside
or
Sora,
Kingdom Hearts?
Donald, Goofy, and more.
Like Kingdom
for the
Hearts
first
3
time
makes
in
sense
TV,
as cloud,
tabletop,
but
or
like
handheld.
1 and 2,
Kingdom Hearts Integrum Masterpiece for Cloud.
like that
containing
just doesn't
all
even
3
make
game
sense.
collections soars onto Nintendo Switch tomorrow. Each collection's cloud version
Oh, and
will
it's coming
also
out
be
tomorrow.
individually available on Nintendo eShop. Klonoa is coming to Nintendo Switch.
What is this?
Across dreamy side-scrolling levels, you'll run, jump, and hover while firing wind bullets to grab and throw enemies. Use each level's surroundings to your advantage. Also, Klonoa 2 is included. Take on these great adventures when Klonoa Fantasy Reverie Series
This
launches
seems
on
like a
Nintendo
game
Switch
that
July
Sega
8th.
would make.
We're so glad you're here.
Portal's coming to Switch.
Come here often. Either way,
I
you're
mean-
in for a puzzling treat. In these award-winning
yeah.
games, the portal gun is your key to surviving imprisonment in a mysterious lab. Create portals and warp to other areas to find cake? Still unconfirmed. You can pass through portals, and so can cubes, lasers,
Yeah,
and
I guess
robots
that's
with
fair.
unnerving levels of personality. The
Who's-
sequel adds in local, online, and split-screen multiplayer modes. And that part's no lie. Neither is the
Who is
sentient
this
robot
for? Like,
monitoring your every move. when
everyone's
Portal,
played
Companion
Portal at this-
Collection
at
warps
this
onto
point.
Nintendo Switch this year.
Why do we need Portal on Switch? We could
A
literally play it on like
classic
everything
comes
else.
alive.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know anything about that, so. pixel art in this game is pretty good.
Previously unreleased outside of Japan, the RPG Live Alive makes its overseas debut.
Live
Now in
Alive.
HD 2D. Multiple stories featuring different protagonists and time periods await. The order in which you tackle them is up to you. Prehistory. A tribesman comes of age in a world without words. The Wild West. A wanderer with a bounty on his head fights for his life. Imperial China. A kung fu master searches for a worthy successor. Twilight of Edo, Japan. A shinobi undertakes an important secret mission. Present
I sure
day,
hope that
a martial artist
the
strives to become the
shinobi,
strongest there ever
you
was.
actually play like a
The
shinobi
near
and not
future,
like
a youth with psychic
what,
powers takes a stand against evil. The distant future, a newly built robot
not
is
like
swept
what modern
up in a
media has
tragedy
made
in
of
space.
shinobi.
What other stories are on the horizon?
Honestly, it kind of does.
In death.
Live Alive launches on Nintendo Switch July 22nd. Pre-orders begin today on Nintendo eShop.
No, shinobi were mostly. They didn't
was
really
that?
kill anyone.
Next
they were
up
more or
is
less
this.
for gathering intel. A shinobi was more or less.
It's a new iteration of the Wii Sports
Oh, they're
series.
bringing back Wii Sports. God damn it.
Nintendo Switch
but
Sports.
but no, a shinobi.
Please take a look.
Well, yeah, like modern,
Here are the
yes.
sports included in the Nintendo
In a
Switch
modern
sports
shinobi,
game.
yes, they are more like assassins,
you might
like
recognize
overpowered.
These three from past Wii Sports games.
But they are. But that's just like modern.
Tennis. Rally
Trails.
by gently swinging the Joy-Con
The,
controller at the right time.
How they traditionally operated
Bowling.
probably was like
Roll the ball straight
you
ahead
know,
or give it a little curve.
gathering intel and escaping.
And Chambara.
And if they were caught,
Knock
they
your
wouldn't
opponent off the
kill.
platform while
They
attacking
had
and defending.
very specific things that they.
Plus, 3 additional sports are joining the lineup. Soccer. Use a gigantic
I
ball to
mean,
make dynamic plays.
You wouldn't have been wrong.
Enjoy matches with Joy-Con controllers to shoot and perform diving headers. By attaching
I
a Joy-Con controller to the leg strap accessory included with the physical version of the game, you can play shootout mode with intuitive kicking motions.
Who is this for? Like,
Badminton.
honestly.
Control your shots left and
This shoulda
right while
came out
keeping
when the Switch
shuttlecock in
came
the
out.
air. Unleash powerful smash shots to gain the upper hand.
Like,
Finally, volleyball. Use a Joy-Con controller to serve, bump,
honestly, we
Set.
should have got this instead of 1-2
and
switch.
spike the ball.
It would have been way better.
The game supports local play with family and friends on one Nintendo Switch
I thought that was
system,
the Squarespace
as well
logo.
as online play across all sports.
This Wii Sports
against friends
ripoff
online.
is made
Or opt for
possible
random
with
matchmaking.
Squarespace.
The more you win, the tougher the players
Okay,
you'll
but
face.
Ring Fit Adventure though. Don't be
taking on this
don't be hating on that.
How was that?
Like,
Since
I
I'm already
unironically
here,
wanna
I'd
get
like
it.
to show you some gameplay of one of the newly added sports, volleyball.
Mr. Takahashi! Oh, hello there, everyone. I'm Yoshiaki Koizumi from Nintendo.
Wow, Mr. Koizumi, I can see you're ready to play. All right, I'll play
Honestly,
some
this direct
volleyball
has been pretty
online
lackluster so
together
far.
with Mr. Koizumi. Do you have your wrist strap ready?
I was
Yes, of
expecting a little
course.
bit more, but maybe they're saving all
I've
the
got
bigger stuff
plenty of
for the
space
end.
around me as well.
All right, let's start. We'll be including some live commentary throughout our match.
I don't watch your live commentary.
All right, we're doing this? Volleyball, a newly added sport in Nintendo Switch Sports. What can we expect today from the Takahashi Koizumi
I mean, it's
team?
more for like the casual people,
It's
but like
Koizumi to serve.
this definitely seems like
Takahashi up front.
a
We
console
begin with
release
Koizumi
game.
serving. How will the opposing team react? Takahashi makes the block. Another one's coming. Koizumi saves it. A setup in the air, and here comes the spike. The other team saves it and fights back. And they score. Takahashi didn't quite get it in time. All right, well,
That was
it's
like
okay.
right
It's okay.
on the
game's not
line.
over. Now the other team serves. Koizumi receives it. Takahashi sets it up. And Koizumi spikes, but it goes right toward the opponent. Here's another attack. Now's their chance. They get the ball. And with a setup from Koizumi, Takahashi scores!
It's like
They
always
got a
right on the
point with that
line.
fierce spike.
This is crazy.
Let's stop our match here.
After all, we were in the middle of a presentation. All right.
Yes,
I'll be
please get
leaving
back to the presentation. I don't want to see you play more Wii
That was
Sports.
an introduction to Nintendo Switch Sports. The game launches April 29th.
I'm not getting
We're planning
it.
a free update in the summer that allows you to play soccer matches with a Joy-Con controller and the leg strap accessory. You can use the accessory to play shootout mode at launch. In addition, we're also planning a second free update this fall that lets you enjoy golf.
Get ready, boomers. You're getting golf back.
And now, a request to everyone. To help ensure that you can all enjoy playing online, we'll be having an online playtest before the game launches to evaluate various technical aspects.
I mean,
We'd definitely like to ask for
cool.
your help with this.
Why didn't
The
they
online
do that
playtest
for
will only be
Smash?
available for players with an active Nintendo Switch Online membership on the dates
They
shown
should
on
have done
screen.
that for Smash,
For those of you
honestly.
interested, please visit the official Nintendo website for more details.
That would have made the online for Smash way better.
Thank you.
Instead of like dealing with the preferred rules crap.
That's all I have for now about
and
Nintendo Switch
the
Sports.
awful
I hope you're looking forward to this game.
netcode.
Let's see a few more Nintendo Switch headlines.
Okay, what do we got now? Oh, more Taiko.
Get those Taiko drumming skills ready.
Nice. Taiko's fun.
The latest Taiko no Tatsujin game is coming to the Nintendo Switch system. Set in Omiko City, a sacred town for taiko drums, you'll strive to become a taiko master, along with brand new character Kumo-kyun. Drum to dozens of boppin' beats, including Megalovania, Gurenge,
I mean, that
Wheel
was already in the
Special,
last
and
game,
Racing
though.
Into the Night.
Megalovania.
And that's not all. An orchestral version of the main theme from The Legend of Zelda is included. That's 76
nice.
songs total. Plus, take advantage of a practice
really
mode
want
to
the
replay
Taiko
sections
controller,
of
though.
songs as many times as you'd like.
For when
New
I
modes
actually
have also been
play
added for
Taiko.
everyone to enjoy. Put on a live concert with up to 4 players in Donchen Band. Or face off against each other in Great Drum Toy War. Drum to your heart's content when Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival launches on Nintendo Switch this year.
I'm probably gonna
Plus,
get that.
A paid
I
in-game
enjoyed-
subscription service that gives you access to over 500 songs will be available at launch.
Paid in-game subscription? That's so dumb. Why?
What's new with these Nintendo Switch games?
Probably they're new.
The brand new tactical RPG game Triangle Strategy is almost here. The protagonist Sarah Noah and his allies will be engulfed in the conflict among 3 nations. Your choices and conviction will determine their fate.
As Lord of House Wolford, I solemnly
They're
swear
really
an oath
promoting the
by
hell
which
out of this
all
game,
future lords
and I
shall be bound. I will
just
never turn
don't
my back
care.
on the promise of a better world.
A new demo playable to the end of Chapter 3 will be available on Nintendo eShop later today. Save data from the demo can be transferred to the full game once purchased. More Cuphead action awaits in the paid DLC, Cuphead: The Delicious Last Course.
I didn't even
Here,
know there
you'll
was DLC
explore
for
a brand
Cuphead.
new Inkwell Isle. Defeat a bevy of new bosses with wild personalities and even wilder attacks.
I mean, I'm glad
The
that
clever
Cuphead's getting
Miss
more
Chalice is a
more
new playable
bosses,
character.
though.
Take down fearsome foes with her double jumps, rolling dodges, and more. Cuphead: The Delicious Last Course wallops its way onto Nintendo Switch June 30th.
Cuphead's a lot
A
of fun.
free update is coming to the Metroid Dread game.
Oh, what are we getting?
All it takes is one hit.
Oh,
Even from this.
eh.
Getting hit even once causes a game over in the brutal Dread Mode difficulty. Can you face this new challenge? And for players new to the Metroid series, take advantage of increased recovery with the newly added Rookie Mode difficulty.
I mean,
This free update launches later today.
cool. I already played through Metroid Dread
A
on stream,
second
though,
free
so I don't
update in
really need to
April
play
will
it.
add a boss rush mode, in which you'll battle bosses continuously, one at a time. something's
I mean,
bound
I don't
for
really
Nintendo
understand why they
Switch.
added a rookie mode. I honestly think it was Metroid Dread was kind of easy. So, oh, they're adding Earthbound to the subscription service. Whoop-de-doo. It's not like I have Earthbound on like other systems. They should just bring back the eShop. Just honestly bring back the eShop. And also bring Mother 3 over too while you're at it. Just localize Mother 3, please. So that people can have the experience of playing Mother 3 legitimately. Translated, I should say. I mean, cool, Earthbound Beginnings is coming here. Game was fine as is, but people are bitches and want games to play themselves. Not skilled. I mean, yeah.
Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings will be added to Nintendo Switch Online later today.
Okay, cool. I can already play that on Wii U. Why do I care? Just bring Mother 3 over. Are we getting Crunchyroll on Switch? I sure hope so. There's just a list of games. That actually looks pretty fun. Ninetales Fox, I mean Kitsune? Oh no, it's just... Why did they just say Ninetales Fox and like... Why didn't they just say Kitsune? Yeah, they're really the only game that I saw that looked interesting to me so far was the was that one side scroller of like Japanese influenced bosses. That one looks a lot of fun.
Here's some news from Mario Kart fans.
But outside of that, it was kind
Many
of
of you have been enjoying the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe game since its launch in 2017. So, we've been working on remastering select courses from across the Mario Kart series, and we'll be releasing them as paid downloadable content. Please take a look at this trailer.
Alright, what do we got now? Oh, Mario Kart. Why don't they just release a new Mario Kart game? Just release a new Mario Kart game at this point. Like, do we really need Mario Kart 9 or whatever on...
8 DLC courses will be coming to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Oh, sorry, Mario Kart 8. Do we really need, like...
This is the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. You may recognize some courses from past Mario Kart games.
This is just silly.
8 courses will be released at a time over 6 waves. That's 48 additional courses.
I mean, I guess since Smash is done, they can't really...
2023.
They have to go to their next
Courses
big,
such as Coconut Mall,
big game.
Chaco Mountain, and Tokyo Blur will be included in the first wave.
Mario Kart Tour?
Of course,
Did anyone
you can play these
even play
courses
Mario Kart
locally
Tour?
and online. The first wave of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass will launch March 18th.
I mean, yeah,
Pre-orders
Smash can't be
begin
that cash
today
cow now
on Nintendo eShop.
because they're done releasing they're releasing
with a Nintendo Switch Online Plus
they're
expansion
done with
pack
DLC,
membership.
so
Or purchase the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass.
they
on its
really
own.
want people to buy this. It's not worth it.
How was that?
I'd rather
I
just
hope you're
buy that
looking
stuff
forward to the additional
individually, like
courses in Mario Kart 8
the
Deluxe.
DLC stuff.
This next segment
And like the
will
only
be
thing
our
I'm
last
actually
announcement.
considering buying that
Please take a
from
look.
that is the Animal Crossing DLC. What is this, Dynasty Warriors?
Fighting in order to live, and living to fight.
Xenoblade 3? I doubt it.
That's the way of our world. Ionios.
No, it does
Tell
look
me,
like Xenoblade.
What would possess you to side with them?
We're fighting because there are enemies to kill.
I refuse to believe you're him.
I knew it. I saw this coming.
You're not enemies now.
Metalface died.
All that time you've got.
You could try to move forwards again.
How can our lives be so snapping little to you?
They're not your friends anymore. They're his fuel.
Yeah, this is definitely Xenoblade.
The land pierced by a great sword. It's the only way you're gonna defeat the real enemy.
Whatever life is lost, I won't let you shoulder it all alone. What good filling up these flickering clocks in our eyes? It'll never
Yeah,
replace
it's-
the friends we've lost. The flame clock.
Schultz built from the future connected. I mean, I haven't played Xenoblade 2, so I don't know. And yes, also Afro Nopons, that was great. Are we going back to Bionis? I sure hope so. I can't wait to play this. I still have yet to play Xenoblade 2, but Xenoblade 3 released. Probably, yeah. Oh, that comes out this year? No way!
The story
That's
of Xenoblade
awesome.
Chronicles 3 ties together the futures of the worlds depicted in Xenoblade Chronicles and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and it will launch this September.
Now I gotta
hope
play
you'll look forward
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 before
That's all for
then, and I
today's
hope I
Nintendo
can find a physical copy of it, because I
Thank
don't
you for
really want to
watching.
download it. And that's everything. That's everything. Okay, well, I guess let's move on to making fun of my MP now.
Thanks for joining us. James, the politics of the protest. The new
Candace Bergen is my MP, and let's make fun of her now.
branch to these folks, but she and her MPs have supported them. Is their support helpful or hurtful not only to the Conservative Party brand, but to the protesters themselves? What's your view?
Well, it might help the protesters a little bit, but I think it hurts the conservatives. Look, this I think movement, such as it is, jumped the shark, in my view, a long time ago. What began as a reasonable opposition to a regulatory agreement between Canada and the United States on cross-border trucking of mandates on vaccinations that was developed in a pre-Omicron environment. You could say that, well, that's kind of an overreach, maybe rapid testing makes sense, but this has morphed and twisted and turned over the last couple of weeks into all kinds of different things. So, is the protest reasonable? Well, it depends, frankly, who you talk to in the protest and what their exact asks are. At this point in the dynamic, I think it's...
Basically, what's going on is Candace Bergen supports the stupid convoy of the 50,000 strong, and the conservatives are eating it up.
An ugly burden that is winning no friends for anybody and is alienating people from what was a core message, which was,
I mean,
let's
like
move
the title says it will hurt the conservatives, but like really nothing at this point can hurt them. Let's be real.
Country forward out of the Omicron and wave towards more openness in a responsible way. Now it's to the point where you have cities being held hostage. And I just tell you, look, if you have trucks...
What? Which cities are being held hostage? Like 90 to 95% of truckers are vaccinated. It's only like that 5 to 10% that aren't. I'd like to dislike ratio on this though. Conservatives are really funny.
rolling into downtown Toronto, and you have kids recovering from surgery in Sick Kids Hospital in downtown Toronto, and they can't recover from their cancer surgeries because there's trucks blaring their horns outside.
Top comment. This is not a burden. It's my privilege and responsibility to stand for the truth. Hell yeah, brother. Yee yee.
This movement will whatever support that they had
Oh
from the public
man,
will
this
evaporate
is
overnight.
This is great.
So let me just quickly stay with you. So you're saying you're getting a lot of your former
Conservatives
colleagues
are so
supporting them
funny,
openly. Do you
man.
think that's a danger for them?
I think so, absolutely, because I don't know how this is going
Why
to
are
end.
they
And
so
I know that there
funny?
are certainly some anxious people, but I think it's a mistake. I think it's fine to side with people who have anxiety about closing it down and the border issues and some of the pragmatic issues.
The only reason why they're considering closing down the borders for Omicron is because of how fast it spreads. And these idiot truckers who are not even in the majority, and a vast majority of the truckers that are like most truckers are actually against this convoy. It's just so ridiculous. Like they're making a mountain out of a molehill. It's only like 5% of truckers.
Issues of vaccine mandates. That's an entirely separate conversation.
Dumb people
from what's
are
happening
fun
now.
for some
And I think if a
reasons.
bunch of people
Yeah.
were locking down downtown Ottawa, honking their
I mean,
horn,
like, but that's just the Conservative Party in general, though. They're full of a bunch of idiots. I mean, liberals are too, but liberals are kind of boring, to be honest with you.
all night for a week, burdening small businesses and doing it in this kind of a way. And they
How are they burdening small businesses? Like, honestly, that doesn't even make sense.
were advocating for an issue that it was 80%, in support of a position that the Conservatives had. The Conservatives would ask for the blockade to be removed by bulldozers overnight.
Okay, now let's go to this.
How should governments address?
Conservatives taking the wrong course with truckers. NDP leader with the interview with the NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, my man.
The pandemic, and what should be done now to deal with the ongoing trucker demonstrations and occupations? Let's find out. Joining me now is NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. Lots going on politically, but just let's start personally. Congratulations on the baby and your family.
Oh, he had a child. Good for him.
Growing. Good to see you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate that.
Congrats, my man.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about the protest.
He's gonna make a really good dad.
This is a big deal. The new interim leader for the Conservatives, Candace Bergen, has asked the government to.
Yes, Jagmeet Singh wants mandates because mandates actually work. That's why they want
quote
mandates, or that's why he wants mandates. I mean, I want mandates too.
Olive branch. Liberals say no. We're not negotiating them.
Like
they support the police.
Alberta and Saskatchewan got rid of mandates, like public health mandates, and that's working out phenomenally for them. And with the
completely wrong elements of this protest that I fully denounce, and I've denounced from the beginning.
With the
I do want to separate that.
I'm gonna pause them real quick. And then with the idiot that had replaced Pallister, she's probably going to get rid of the mandates too. I mean, Pallister was still a fucking idiot, but I didn't even know it was possible to be even more brain dead than Pallister. But somehow the Conservatives managed to find someone. It's just baffling to me how they've managed to find all these stupid idiots. The beard demands respect, and I am willing to follow the beard to the end. I mean, yeah, he has an awesome beard. But then again, like, Sikhs in general tend to have really nice beards.
The situation is untenable for people in Ottawa. The kids can't go to school. Businesses are shut down. Small businesses aren't been able to reopen, even though there is a reopening. And people feel locked in their homes and they feel afraid. And that's just wrong. There is a sentiment out there in Canada where people are frustrated with the pandemic. And I want to just say that people are right to be frustrated. It's been a long time. They're angry. But they're also specifically angry about the fact they can't find a home they can afford. Groceries are going up. Their healthcare system isn't there for their loved ones when they need it. And we need to fix those problems. And there needs to be a clear plan. What does it look like to get out of this pandemic? And I think those things need to be done. I think Mr. Trudeau hasn't really shown that leadership to provide that plan to the broad.
He is right about that. Like, in every aspect of this, he is right. the cost of living has been going up, regardless of if that's like necessities like food and water, or just housing in general. And then even things like gas, for example, have been going up as well. I think it just rose again today. Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like, the cost of living is just absolutely awful. And like, yeah, people are getting kind of frustrated with the pandemic because it's been going on for 2 years at this point, myself included. I'm getting kind of annoyed with it as well, but that doesn't mean we still shouldn't be following public health measures and safety procedures when it comes to the the pandemic. Like, I want it to be over just as much as the next guy, but we can't keep pulling the crap of like not, following proper mandates, not getting vaccinated, not wearing a mask properly, or just not wearing a mask in general. It's getting silly at this point. And when he's referring to like the cost of living going up, and then housing, like no one's being able to afford a house, or their pharmacare or whatever, he's right about that. He's 100% right about that. And the Liberals have shown no conviction to actually do anything about it. They're just going to keep doing it and say it's business as usual, and it's really annoying.
Broader Canadian
but
population that's wondering what's going on.
But there's a protest. There's an occupation going on.
Okay, it's like 5,000 people. Who cares? The BLM protests had way much more people, and nothing came of it. Like, do they honestly think that this protest of 50,000 people is gonna do anything? Like, they're just trying to have a little bit of fun. Like, they see all the fun that the conservatives have in the States, and then they just look at here and just like, yeah, hell yeah, brother, I'm gonna try and have some fun here. And it never ends up working for them. This convoy is so fucking stupid, man.
And the demands are lift the mandates now. If you were in office, this is not a long...
Yeah, but unironically, most people actually want more mandates. It's only a small minority of people that actually wants the mandates to be lifted, because a vast majority of the people recognize that if we have strict mandates and actually follow them, we will be out of this a lot sooner than we will. Yeah, exactly. As do I. I want more mandates too. Because you have a bunch of dumbasses that don't want to follow the bare minimum that we have in place, and think that it's a trend. It's opposing their freedoms and liberties. No, it's really not. But then you run the risk of, if we actually enforce those mandates, of the same idiots screaming that it's communist China, which just isn't the case, because they're fucking stupid.
The housing issue is a real issue. I'm not going to, but it's not that's not the issue on the Hill right now. How would you do it? People are, we're in a minority government. If you were the Prime Minister, what would you do right now?
Well, the reason why I make this connection to the broader kind of anger that Canadians are feeling is because there are people, surprisingly, that are kind of showing an affinity for what is otherwise a completely...
And like, to get on to this other guy that Singh is talking to, how is housing not a part of this? A lot of Canadians have been struggling with housing, just in general, over the course of the pandemic. Like, I mean, of course people are gonna be frustrated about it. Like, once COVID's over, I imagine like all of that rent that has been sort of like waived for the pandemic, the fucking landlords are gonna be like, I want my money now. The pandemic's over. You owe me this amount of money, and you owe me within this amount of time. Like, it's stupid. There's going to be, like, we already faced a homelessness crisis before COVID, and it's just going to get worse after COVID. Housing is just a huge pain in the ass. I mean, yeah, like, let's be real, the Liberals aren't going to do anything about it. They never have and they never will. And I don't know why people think that they will. It's not going to solve they're not solving anything. But, like, I'd rather have the Liberals than Conservatives. Because the Liberals are slightly better. Not by much, though. And, like, yeah, no, the way we solve this housing problem is by, you know, giving people the fucking vacant houses that, you know, are on, or that don't have anyone living in them, and just there to increase market value. Like, who fucking cares about that? That's silly.
Wrong, organizers that are completely wrong, elements of this protest are completely wrong, but there seems to be some support amongst broader Canadians. And I feel like if we address the fact that Canadians are frustrated, they are angry, they want to plan out of this pandemic, they don't know what that looks
like. And Canadians should be frustrated. The government has let them down. Like, everything has let them down over the course of COVID. And it's really annoying and frustrating. So he is right about that. Like, at this point, like, it's gonna be radical to say that we need, like, specific reforms to the healthcare system, to education, to housing, and make sure that everyone gets all this stuff universally for free. But it's not gonna happen.
Like they've gotten vaccinated, but there isn't actually any.
So what are you saying?
Light at the end of the tunnel.
I know, but the provinces are saying it is the science tables and the healthcare leaders who are saying the reason we have these restrictions is because our ICUs and hospitals were overwhelmed. Now the numbers are going down.
Yes. So when you see signs of the ICUs and the hospitalizations going down, you don't release restrictions. You keep the restrictions up until you're really, really low. That's how that works. If you get rid of restrictions, once you see the numbers going down, you're going to spike again. That's how that works. And I don't think that this idiot understands that. Like,
do you have a sense that, okay, once the ICUs can handle capacity, do you what? End mask mandates? Do you end mandatory?
No, why the fuck would you end mask mandates? We should never end fucking mask mandates just because you see the number of deaths go down a little bit. That's fucking ridiculous.
Mandates for cross-border truckers? Do you end mandatory mandates for federal workers? Like, would you put that stuff on the table, sir?
Well, I wouldn't put it on the table with these folks that are holding Ottawa hostage. But I do want Canadians to have a sense of what is the plan. And I feel like people don't know what the plan is. And I feel like that does create frustration. And that frustration emboldens people. And it can be used and misused to exploit that anger that people feel and channel it in the wrong direction. You pointed this out, and you're absolutely right. The folks that are protesting mandates are protesting Ottawa when all these mandates are actually provincial. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But what...
He is right about that. A lot of the mandates are provincial. So that doesn't even matter, because a lot of the conservative-led provinces, like when it comes to the premiers, are probably going to be getting rid of a lot of the health mandates that have been put in place. Alberta's already done it, and Saskatchewan's already done it. Manitoba's probably going to be next, and then I have a feeling that Ontario might follow suit as well. But the irony in this is that when they actually get rid of these mandates, when things are still bad, and it's going to cause a lot of unnecessary death, is people get mad and they frustrate it, and they protest it. And that's usually enough to get these idiots that we have in power to actually kind of listen. Like the whole, like, Convoy thing, like, fuck, those people are just mad over nothing. They'll probably get mad over like fucking the green M&M not being sexy enough or some other bullshit like that, so that doesn't even matter. Knowledge is power, and the government wants to keep Canadians in the dark. I mean, well, that's true regardless of who's in power, though. I mean, conservatives do it, liberals do it. It's nothing new.
Mr. Trudeau could do is provide some national leadership. Here is what the plan looks like for us to.
Singh, I love you, my guy, but you're putting way too much. You're putting way too much on Trudeau's plate. I don't even like. He can't even fucking get his own party to like agree on anything. So I'm sorry. You're having too much faith in him, my guy.
To get out of this, here's what a post-COVID scenario is going to look like.
What do you think of conservative members of parliament going out? Look, everyone's got the right to peacefully protest, and saying these are just peaceful protesters.
Yeah, you want to know who else was considered peaceful protesters? What was it that happened last year on January 6th in the States? I don't remember. It was in Washington. There was a peaceful protest there. What happened on that day? I don't remember.
They're good Canadians. They're going out there. They're supporting this trucker protest.
I'm referring to the insurrection.
They're tweeting about it, and they are supporting this, even though the premier, the mayor, and the federal government have said this is not the protest to support. What do you make of conservatives supporting them openly?
I mean, it makes sense for them. They're going to seem good to the protest, or they're going to make themselves seem like more electable by the protesters and anything, but it doesn't really matter because they'll vote for the fucking conservatives either way. Either that or PPC, so it doesn't matter.
I think conservatives have taken a wrong course here. They're emboldening.
They have took from the perspective of a conservative politician, they have taken the right choice. Like, it's just a public image stunt. I mean, like, there are some, like, valid things that they are saying, but it's minuscule compared to, like, the moral of the message. Essentially, what it's being like is, in the fucking mandates, I don't want to get vaxxed because I'm a child, because I'm like 3 years old mentally. And I'm tired of this tyranny, when realistically these fucking idiots are causing all this tyranny.
Some of the worst of what we've seen in their actions. They're not making it clear that it's wrong to have organizers of this be openly divisive and hateful. They've taken a position that's really emboldening some of the worst behavior, and I think that's the wrong approach.
They're trying to regain the trust of the voters who ended up voting PPC last election. That's why they're taking that approach, because the Conservative Party thinks that they lost the election because the PPC vote, because a lot of former conservatives saw the PPC and like, oh, that's actually what I believe in, so I'm going to go vote for them. That's all that they're trying to do.
I just want your comment on this. The Globe and Mail first obtained, and then CTV confirmed, this letter from the interim Conservative leader, Candice Bergen. She wrote to Erin O'Toole's senior leadership team when she was the deputy leader. This is just last Monday. And she said, quote, I don't think we should be asking them, the protesters, to go home. I understand the mood, she later wrote, may shift soon, so we need to turn...
You want to know the irony in this? Is that when there is a left-wing protest, even like a social democrat, they are met with incredible amounts of violence. We saw that during the BLM protests, and nothing came of that. Outside of, like, more propaganda. And when these hogs decide to protest a bunch of nonsense, they're not faced with any form of violence. Mostly because cops are the same people that are doing these fucking protests. They're part of that problem. And they don't really want to turn on each other, even though like there's been a lot of problems with like, especially amongst like the alt-right, where, you know, they're experiencing a lot of infighting. I mean, I guess they're experiencing what the left faces every single day amongst its different groups, whether it be like fucking anarchist or communist or even like Marxist Leninist or Maoist or some other shit like that. Like, come on.
This into the
Can't get
Prime
anything done if we want to fight.
What does that tell you about her approach to this?
Well, and this is really important, and this is something I wanted to say earlier, and I really glad to have the opportunity. I think on both sides, the conservatives are clearly using this. They're weaponizing this convoy.
Absolutely,
using it
they
for
are.
political gain. And the liberals are also not innocent here. They're also looking at this as a wedge issue. I want us to look at this. This is the pandemic. This is the frustration of people. This is a situation that's very.
Okay, so he is right that the conservatives are weaponizing it. And he is right that the liberals thinks that it's a wedge issue. Yes, it is part of a pandemic issue, but for the most part, it's more or less an issue of the material conditions not being met for a lot of these people. Because those that are not getting vaccinated and want the mandates restricted want to go out and do shit again, like I do too, right? And if they lose their job, they can't afford to, you know, live. So of course they're going to be frustrated when it comes to it. It's only natural, right? Which is why, you know, we should provide the material conditions that everyone needs.
Tense. It's not something to be used as a game. It's not something to be weaponized. It's not something to be manipulated for our personal gain.
Mr. Singh, one of your members, Peter Julian, tabled the private members bill that would prevent anyone from selling or displaying symbols that promote hatred, like the Confederate flag or the swastika. Now, we already have Section 319 of the Criminal Code.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter because no one actually follows a criminal code, and you're still allowed to fucking fly, whether it be the Confederate flag or the fucking swastika, because that falls underneath freedom of speech or freedom of expression or some other bullshit like that. So it doesn't matter. And like a lot of the cops are like tend to fly that on when they're off duty anyway, so who cares?
That bans that kind of thing in general, not in specific. Why should there be a more specific law needed when we already have tools to do those things?
Well, what we're seeing is that hate is being emboldened. And I've always said from the beginning that hate is very much like a fire. Once it's allowed to take hold, it spreads and it starts consuming everything. If it's okay to hate someone based on their religion, it's okay to hate someone based on...
And that's how racism gets started. That's how whether it be like homophobia or transphobia or a hatred towards a religion or something like that gets started, and it tends to balloon out, which is why when it comes to the myth of the white race, I often tend to hear a lot of it's only us and it's nothing but us and only our opinion matters. And you know, it just doesn't fucking matter because they're gonna cry about it anyways.
Their gender, their sexuality, their language, where they come from. And so we need to stop hate in its tracks. And one of the things that we know is a kind of a flashpoint for mobilizing people are certain symbols of hate. And that's why we've been really specific. There are 3 symbols of hate that we want to see banned in Canada. They've got no place in Canada, and there's broad consensus on this. The swastika, Confederate flags, and anything around the KKK.
Okay, so you want to know something ironic? In the US, they're a lot more lenient when it comes to being a hate group. Because, like, the only thing that they actually consider a hate group is something like some unorganized group that doesn't have any centralized leader, say, like Antifa or whatever the fuck, like Big Bad Antifa. But when it actually does come to organized groups of hate and stuff like that, they don't consider like actual hate groups like the Three Percenters, neo-Nazis, the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys. So like your typical white supremacists. And then they also don't consider the KKK as a part of that, which is kind of strange. Like, I mean, but that's like US problems. Like we have them listed as terrorists, but it doesn't matter because they tend to just get a slap on the wrist anyways. If it's a brown person, you know, then they're automatically considered a terrorist and like shot to death.
Where do you find the reasonable limit to balance the freedom of expression where you have to defend things you don't like?
You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna say it. Fuck freedom of expression. If you're being a fucking Nazi psychopath, you don't deserve to have freedom of expression. End of story. And freedom of expression also doesn't mean freedom from consequence. It's the same thing like fucking dumbass freedom of speech Andes. They think they can get away with saying whatever the hell they want, and then when they say something like racist or some other bullshit, and they get consequences, they just deflect and say, oh, I'm just using my free speech. It's the same thing as these fucking freedom of expression Andes. It's so annoying. Because, I mean, you don't see people flying the hammer and sickle, for example. And when people do, they tend to, you know, get fucking brutalized by the institutions that are supposed to be protecting their freedom of speech or freedom of expression.
And all of a sudden the government's saying, you know what, we're going to start banning things.
Well, I think these three symbols, it's very clear what they stand for, and it's very clear they should not have any place in Canada. And that's where we're limiting this to a very specific set of symbols, those three. And I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's...
Honestly, go for more, my guy. Shoot for the stars. Do more than just the swastika, the Confederate flag, and anything associated with the KKK. Go for more. They'll use more obscure imagery. It doesn't matter. What makes sense? I'm not too sure on what you're referring to. Or what makes sense. I mean, to a certain point. Because a lot of the hate, when you see that comes from, like, say, racism, for example, tends to come from a place of fear. Banning the hate icons, that's what makes sense. I mean, to a point, right? Because, like, if you were to ban, like, say, the swastika, they'll find some other Nazi imagery and use that in lieu of the swastika. So it doesn't matter. They'd probably use something, say, like the Iron Cross, for example, or the Black Eagle, or some other thing like that. Like, there are plenty of different ways on, say, of continuing the hate without using, like, more mainstream imagery of hate, if that makes sense. So, realistically, it doesn't matter. It's the exact same thing with fascist dog whistles. They'll just find a new word or something like that that's a little bit more obscure, and then they can say, "Oh no, it's something else. It's not what you think it is." Like, fascists aren't smart. They're really dumb.
Sends a clear message.
I should say, in the proposed legislation, for people that are interested, if it's used for educational purposes or in a film like that, it would be allowed. So that doesn't ban that, just for the record.
I do agree. When it comes to education, like educational purposes in history, or if you're depicting like a historical event, or even if you're using it for something like fantasy, for example, say like in Captain America, I don't have a problem with seeing the swastika, okay? I do have a problem seeing it when, you know, you have some fucking neo-Nazi going down shouting that, you know, fucking Jews control the world and flying the fucking flag above his head. That dude, let's be real, that dude deserves to be punched in the face.
I do have to leave it there. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, good to have you back on the program. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Take care.
All right. I do think that Singh did avoid a little bit of the questions, but like he is right on a vast majority of that stuff, so I just don't think that he had the time to go into detail on how that stuff actually affects anything. All right, let's watch Candice Bergen allegedly putting Trudeau in his place yet again, and let's make fun of her for being wrong.
Around the world are opening up, even countries with lower vaccination rates than Canada. Provinces are beginning to lift restrictions and getting life back to normal. Why? Because they're following the science. Canadian.
No, they're not. They're literally not. Like, even federally, we're not following the science. Like, the only reason why we ended up reducing the quarantine time from 2 weeks to 5 days is because the CDC did. And the CDC was lobbied by giant fucking companies so that they could get people back to work. Because they don't care if people, you know, fucking die from Omicron or whatever else is going around. They don't care. That's the only reason why we did it. Is because we're essentially just Diet USA. We're just Diet America. Let's be real.
Canadians are ready to get their life back. But it seems like the Prime Minister wants to live in a permanent pandemic. Dr. Ham.
Why is this such a conservative talking point? Like, no one wants to live in a fucking permanent pandemic. It's idiotic to think that anyone actually does.
Dr. Tam, Dr. Henry, Dr. Moore, Dr. Hinshaw, Dr. Shahab all agree it's time to shift out of the restrictions and back to normal life. So why is the Prime Minister so offside, not only with the science, but it would seem like with the growing number of his own MPs?
I mean, to be fair, you fucking support the fucking convoy, so I wouldn't really be trusting anything that you said. Would living in a prison be safer? No, it would not be safer. The reason why it wouldn't be safer is because we see prisoners as subhuman. We don't give them the right to vote. We don't give them the right to education. Hell, even when they get out of prison, even if they're wrongfully convicted, we don't necessarily give them the right to get a good paying job, for example. So when it comes to COVID, this was happening a lot in the States, but it also happened here too. You had, especially like early 2020, or especially during 2020, early 2021, you had prisoners literally escaping from their jails that they were stationed at or thrown into, whichever way you want to take a look at it, because they didn't want to catch COVID and die. Where, you know, they're seen as subhuman animals and fucking expected to, you know, just die to fill up the prison again. So no, a prison isn't safer. There has been countless outbreaks over at prisons, lack of PPE, and people just not giving a fuck about these people that had made a mistake and are now like forced into rot in jail, or people who have a mental disability and were thrown in jail for some particular reason, which we ambiguously decided on.
Right Honorable Prime Minister.
I'm kind of curious on what Trudeau's gonna say. Oh, we've been following the science really closely and everything. Like, look, that's probably what he's gonna say.
On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, we intend to follow the science and are working closely with Dr. Tam and other public health officials to ensure that we get through this pandemic as best we possibly can. And that has been through vaccinations. The fact that 9 out of 10 Canadians have gotten vaccinated is one of the reasons.
He is actually right about that vaccination rate, though. A vast majority of Canadians are vaccinated.
Why we're able to get through this is why we've been.
But the thing is that it doesn't matter, because Omicron can spread to even people who have been vaccinated or who have had COVID previously. So realistically, what we should be doing is we should be doing what we actually did in early 2020 and shut everything down. It won't happen because a lot of the fucking businesses will cry about it. But that's what should happen. Like, fuck. I know a lot of people like to criticize China just in general. But one thing that they have been doing right is that they've been keeping COVID at bay. They're probably looking over at us and being like, really? That's still a thing over there? Because, like, when 3 people in a district in China have COVID, the entire district gets shut down and has to quarantine. And it's actually been working out pretty well for them. Like, fuck, they had water parks open since last year. Like, who the fuck doesn't want to go back to, like, I mean, personally, I think, like, fucking water parks are disgusting, but that's beside the point. Like, who doesn't want to go outside and, like, fucking not have to worry about catching something that they can die from or get incredibly sick from? God, North America is the dumbest continent.
Able to prevent our health systems from being completely overrun. Vaccinations are the thing through this. That's why we're continuing to encourage Canadians to get vaccinated. Why, unfortunately, the Conservatives are against vaccination is, quite frankly.
I mean, Conservatives are always against vaccinations because they probably still think it causes autism. And as much as I hate to say it, he is right about some of this stuff. He's right about the statistics when it comes to how many people have been vaccinated. He's right about the Conservatives being against vaccinations because they're not even willing to release numbers on how many Conservative politicians are vaccinated, for example. It's as much as I hate agreeing with the fucking liberals, he is right about that. When is COVID gonna turn us into zombies, like by Dying Light 2 style? If that were to happen, I would be way happier. I mean, like, it probably won't. There's actually a really good video by Step Back that actually dives into why people don't follow mandates, whether it be like public health or like environmental or stuff like that. We can watch that after if you want. It's a really good video. That just means we won't watch we might not have enough time to watch Marketplace, but are you just wanting to watch that instead of Marketplace then? If we have time, we might watch Marketplace.
The honorable leader of the opposition.
Oh no, she's the leader? Oh, we're fucked. Oh, fuck. How is my MP the leader right now? Oh god, this sucks.
Science and the evidence is just simply not on the Prime Minister's side.
What are you talking about? It is 100% on his side. I'm sorry, but just because you saw a post on Facebook, that doesn't mean it's evidence. Oh, fuck, conservatives are so dumb.
The reasons previously used to keep Canadians.
Yeah, understanding the reason why people don't follow mandates is definitely something we need to know. I mean, he goes into historical reasons, because he's a leftist historian. And he covers like a lot of leftist movements and a lot of other things. So we can definitely watch that. And he is right about a lot of the stuff that he has said, or that he did say in the video. We'll watch it after then. If we have time after, we'll probably go watch Marketplace.
Under restrictions are vanishing before our eyes. Other countries.
They're only vanishing because people are actually handling the pandemic better than we have. I mean, to be fair, we do also have the states bordering us, and the states has done awful. They're not even at 50% vaccination rates. And a lot of your fucking party's leadership when it comes to provincially has been really fucking bad. They see the numbers go down, or even some cases they see them go up, and then they decide to get rid of restrictions when they see that they're working. Again, she probably hates the fuck out of China, and we're fucking losing to China when it comes to COVID, when it comes to COVID. Like, hell, we're even losing to New Zealand. Who the fuck loses to New Zealand? Like, New Zealand has done an excellent job when it comes to COVID in, like, the global, compared to, like, the rest of the global north. It's just silly to me.
Countries are opening up. Provinces are opening up. As he just said, 90% of Canadians have the vaccine.
Yes, that may be true, but it doesn't matter with Omicron going around, considering it can reinfect people who have had COVID previously or who have been vaccinated. Granted, the effects of Omicron for vaccinated individuals is a lot less severe than those who have not been vaccinated, which is most of your fucking voter base. So if you want to try and take the election next time, which probably won't happen, you're gonna need your people alive. Just saying.
Prime minister needs to put his ego aside. He needs to do what's right for the country. He needs to end the mandates. He needs to end the restrictions. He needs to listen to his own caucus. Will he do that?
The Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Canada and Canadians have made it through this pandemic.
Wait, hold on. I want to check something. Oh, okay. They did. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if like the conservative side just wasn't wearing a mask or was wearing it improperly. If that was the case, I would be laughing so hard.
Places because Canadians stepped up. They were there for each other. Their government had their backs. We worked closely with provincial and territorial leaders. Every step of the way, we kept focusing on vaccinations, on public health supports, on business supports that's allowed us through. And Canadians are continuing to get vaccinated. 60,000 Canadians got vaccinated with their first dose just last week. We are continuing to make sure Canadians get vaccinated because this is how we get through this pandemic.
Yee, brother. All right. Okay, I guess we'll move on to that step back video. If I can find it. Let's see here. All right, we'll watch this video now.
This video is dedicated to...
So, he's going to go into historically why people are against public safety measures, whether that be, you know, public health or warnings, like when it comes to natural disasters or anything else like that.
My child, who either was born already...
Oh yeah, I forgot he recently had a baby.
...or will be born the month this video comes out. Welcome to the world. I'm looking forward to meeting you. And I'm so sorry. Well, it's 2022. Time to check the news and see what baby brain has me missing out on.
He's going to make some examples, like some really extreme examples of public safety measures that aren't being followed, and he's going to have some of his friends pretend to be people that are against them.
After the last 2 years, this year's got a lot of insane, horrible shit to live up to.
Sweden seems to be overrun by the living dead, what's called the Draugr invasion of 2022. It's caused by the dreaded Omega variant that has created zombie-like conditions. Pfizer and Moderna say their vaccine should be effective against the coronavirus. That line is awful. Who wrote this crap?
Oh, God. I gotta check on Mia.
A zombie virus caused by COVID. That'd be actually kind of awesome. Well, not in the sense that, you know, would be killing people, just the fact that, you know, zombies.
Okay, phone, call Sweden.
Mulder residence.
Hey, Mia, the news is saying that there's zombies?
Oh, yeah, that. I mean, it's really nothing. An over-exaggeration if I ever heard one.
Well, at least there's a vaccine. Were you able to get it?
What? No, I have no idea what's in those things. Scientists
Every single conservative argument against vaccines.
develop the vaccine.
I mean, I know he's just playing it up for jokes, but I mean, he's pretty much right there.
Who invented climate change? I'll take my chances with the coronavirus before getting one of those. Listen, I'd like to chat, but let's wait till we bring the Monday discourse back. I'm a little busy right now.
Oh God. Well.
Okay.
Mia Mulder from MiaMulder.com knows what she's doing. She's a grown woman. So back to the news.
Alarm bells ring in Virginia today as nuclear fallout from the bombing of Washington, D.C. blows into the state.
Wait, how'd I miss that one?
FEMA has sent every resident nuclear fallout suits to wear outside to protect themselves from the radiation, as well as to not contaminate those around them.
Oh God. My podcast co-host Scott lives in Virginia. I better go check up on him. Hey, Scott, I heard that you're being bathed in nuclear fallout right now? How you holding up?
Oh, hey, you know, not too bad. You know, the nuke thing was a bit of a bummer, but I think we're all back to normal now.
How's the fallout suit?
No, I don't wear those. I mean, look, the way that I see it, I'm in my 20s, you know, barely. I eat my vegetables.
This is the same discourse that was used against masks. Was one of the main core arguments for the anti-mask rallies, saying that, you know, they're healthy and they eat fucking vegetables and take their vitamins or whatever. I'm perfectly mental stable. I'm totally not worried or anything.
I eat keto cereal, for crying out loud.
God, who eats keto cereal?
Wow. I'm gonna be fine. You know, what's a little radiation gonna do?
A lot.
Actually, quite a lot. Plus,
being young is apparently the cure. I mean, that's what people think, but realistically, like, COVID causes a lot of, or it has caused a decent chunk of people who are younger to actually develop respiratory, like, problems because they think that they're invincible, and when they actually catch it and they're coughing up like their lungs, they end up having respiratory problems for most likely the rest of their life.
You could then contaminate others.
See, there you go again with your Canadian sensibilities. Look, safety is all fine.
Oh yeah, Step Back is a Canadian, by the way. I think he lives in Toronto. Let's throw their babies at the virus will totally fix the problem. Yeah, totally.
Good. But you gotta draw the limit somewhere. I, for one, choose to sacrifice a little bit of security if it means I have my freedom.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. A lot of people thought that, like, wearing a mask would impose on their, like, freedoms and shit. Oh man. Fuck. I miss the good old days, man.
I mean, just a suit.
Freedom, Tristan. Just freedom.
Oh God, that's wild. I guess 2022 is living up to the rest of the decade so far.
Toronto is reeling from the threat of Biclops, the 300-foot tall
Biclops, that's awesome.
two-eyed cyclops. The government sent out an evacuation order for the whole city. The problem is some people are holding out in defiance of government orders. We asked local business owner Mildred.
Oh yeah, this is Thought Slime. He makes really funny content. Like really funny leftist content.
Thinkin' Slime about why he defied the order and is keeping his gym open.
People keep trying to position me as an anti-evacuator. I'm not against evacuations. I think evacuations are safe and effective. It's just that I don't think the government should
He's making fun of anti-vaccine people.
be in the business of telling people what to do. I'm an adult. I can think for myself. If Biclops, the terror of the Great Lakes, comes stomping through the area, I know exactly what to do. Real quick, before he steps on me, I just throw on the helmet, and I'm fine. I've read at least one study that suggested if you get stepped on by Biclops while you're wearing a helmet, then you're probably fine. I don't remember where I read it. Besides, I'll be goddamned if I'm going to be thrown out of my house by a monster that doesn't even have depth perception.
So the Biclops does have 2 eyes.
The Biclops. Oh man, I love this.
What? I guess because a Cyclops has 1 eye, they don't call that Uniclops. So I would. No, I'm gonna need you to check your fact.
Black Ops 2 showed us that it really works. Actually, didn't actually try that. I mean, yeah.
What's on that one? I haven't read all the latest data on that, so I can't speak to that in particular.
I mean, yeah, technically.
I think.
But I don't think Biclops has. I don't think if you shoot it in the foot, you're gonna be okay. If you get stomped on, that's why I think Matt's helmet idea is better.
I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do whatever's easiest for me, and that's probably the safest thing to do.
Okay, what the hell's going on? These are basic safety measures that anybody should be able to take. Why are so many people not doing essential, simple things that can save lives? But first, as a responsible parent, I will need to protect my home from the perils of zombies, nuclear fallout, kaijus, and regionally locked content. So, I want to talk about today's sponsor, NordVPN. NordVPN is a simple, solid, safe solution for your security needs. Month with a huge discount.
I'm sorry, Tristan, I don't really want to watch the ad.
NordVPN has a 30-day money-back guarantee. Okay, now back to the content. So let's look first at our coronavirus and the vaccines. Many of us were a mix of shocked and yet not surprised to see the backlash against COVID vaccines. There are quite a lot of ways to bite into this apple. COVID was, in many ways, a confluence of many factors. A perfect storm of misinformation and bullshit. So, let's get shoveling. First, there's a strong current of anti-intellectualism circling the world right now. Finding an origin to this is a lot to unwrap, though. Mistrust.
I'm gonna change the annotation.
Trust or hostility to educated people has been around for a long time. Anti-intellectualism often comes in the guise of speaking for the common folk. Usually, anti-intellectuals portray academics as a form of elite to deride. And to some extent, I get it. Rich people suck. Blaming university degrees for the existence of rich people would make me pretty mad too. The academy has a reputation for being a place for those of wealth and privilege. And again,
historically, it has been a place for people with extreme amounts of wealth and privilege. It was primarily run for young white males whose parents had a lot of money. So I can kind of understand where that anti-intellectualism is coming from. However, that being said, though, we shouldn't necessarily mitigate their contributions that they have done to the scientific community and all that, as well as, you know, for the most part, things have opened up a lot more for people who have disabilities or who have a different skin color, speak a different language, different religion, and all that. Can you enlarge the text for the captions? It's a little hard to read.
Though
I can
this
try.
has lessened in recent years in some areas, This is a legitimate grievance. It's a problem with a lack of access to education. Charging tuition for schools is a crime against humanity. But reactionary thinking tends not to look too hard for causes. Just pure grievance. In
I don't
some
think
places,
I can.
like the United States, it's created an almost disdain for education. Being successful without schooling is a sort of perverse point of pride. Totalitarian regimes also have wielded anti-intellectualism across the political spectrum. It's often an effort to suppress dissent to their authority. Psst. This is why the US does it, but that's a topic for another video I'm gonna make someday. During the reign of fascist dictator Francisco Franco, nearly 200,000 people died. All were killed to cement his regime. A good chunk of them being the Spanish intelligentsia.
Yeah, so fascists kind of suck a little bit, considering that they do shit like that. Another one that another fascist that tends not to be talked about, but is referenced in the alt-right, is Pinochet, who was acquitted after an American coup in Chile. I think it was after September 11th, 1960s, I think.
The Khmer Rouge sought to eradicate the educated people of Cambodia for a similar reason. They wanted to suppress political dissent and saw the educated as the source of that. Back to vaccines. The anti-vaccine movement has also been a developing threat for years before the COVID pandemic. This crisis gave them a huge opportunity to expand their influence. They'd be able to manipulate people way outside of mommies and daddies who want to kill their kids with whooping cough. The movement's gone through phases of finding various safety concerns about vaccinations. Then, once discredited, they move on to another invented problem. We've seen concerns about...
Yeah, he is right about that. A lot of the problems from when it comes to vaccines, for example, tend to be that people end at a conclusion and work backwards to try and justify their conclusion. So let's take autism for example. When it comes to autism for vaccines, people who want to come to that conclusion already do. They just want to work backwards and try and justify it so that they don't have to get their kids the shots for like mumps or measles, for example. When time and time again that has been disproven, and autism tends to be more of a genetic thing. In fact, I think there was a controlled study, if I remember correctly, of the whole like vaccines cause autism, for example, where 90% of those cases who were vaccinated and participated in this willingly, those that ended up getting autism were through genetics.
Thimerosal and vaccine schedules, but for modern COVID stuff, we've seen microchips, we've seen Jeffrey Epstein's DNA as kind of more COVID-specific boogeymen.
As well as, literally something awesome like turning into fucking Magneto. I mean, who doesn't want to be Magneto? Like, I'm still waiting on my Magneto powers. Where are my Magneto powers? But when it comes to like the microchips, for example, that came from something idiotic that Bill Gates proposed, which was putting invisible ink inside of certain vaccines for migrants who came across the US border or even who weren't in the US, and they would be able to tell who had their vaccines and or which shots and who didn't have which shots, right? So let's say if you had the MMR shot, you would have, I don't know, let's say it was blue underneath infrared light. And that's kind of where the microchip thing came from. But now it's more or less focused on, you know, the government tracking you and being able to throw you in jail if you don't follow specific norms or some other idiotic crap like that. But I mean, why would they inject you with a microchip when there is something that people are willing to carry around with them that already tracks your location? That being your cell phone. And like, it's not like the governments don't do that. Like, governments 100% pay telecom companies to get information off of citizens. It's 100% true.
This is the age-old situation, though, of a conclusion looking for a reason. This isn't by any stretch new either. There were anti-vaccine people back when we started inoculating people against smallpox. Here's an 1802 political comic about them. Now, sometimes vaccine programs have been sources of bad shit.
Oh, he's probably going to talk about the experiments that happened with syphilis. I don't remember what the case was called, but they wanted to explore the effects of syphilis on the human body, and they didn't want to provide medication to this one African American community in the States, and you know, a lot of them end up dying from it because, you know, they weren't given treatment that they needed for it. So yeah, it's fun. He's probably going to touch on what the name was and go into a little bit better detail than I can.
Shit. I remember the CIA faked a vaccination program in Pakistan in order to spy on Osama bin Laden's compound, for one. The medical industry has a history of malfeasance against people of color as well. They've been victims of experimentation on drugs and involuntary sterilization.
He's right.
In the case of the Tuskegee syphilis,
that's what it was, the Tuskegee syphilis experiment.
They withheld treatment from black people with a fatal illness. Why? To see what happens. I mean, how much of modern medical science is built on HeLa cells? These are cancer cells cultured by a black woman named Henrietta Lacks without her permission. Scientists profited from them without her family's consent or even knowledge for decades. The more modern
and that's why, especially in the States, a lot of people tend to not trust going to see the doctor, for example, especially when, especially people of color, because for the most part, like, why should they, right? They've been experimented on to try and find new treatments for those that are deemed worthy to get treatment, or like discrimination in the healthcare system. We saw that last year with the passing of that one Indigenous lady who was in Ontario that was refused to be put on a ventilator, even though she desperately needed it. I think I could be getting my stories mixed up, but she also faced like a lot of racism from the nurses as well. So that was great.
The anti-vaccine movement has a long and twisting history. The movement's central dogma is a false connection between vaccines and autism. Of course.
Oh yeah, so the whole thing with like vaccines cause autism came from I don't remember what his name was, but in the UK he tried spreading a lot of misinformation about the NHS's MMR vaccine, because he, as a private individual, had made a vaccine for measles, and he wanted to profit off of the measles vaccine. So that's where a lot of like the whole like autism or vaccines cause autism stuff comes from, even though every single one of those people that had pushed that out there has revoked their statements on that, but it's still used to this day that vaccines cause autism.
Of course, it's a connection long since discredited, but it has a massive follower base ready to kill their kids en masse for this belief. Yet, nothing...
That's one thing I actually find kind of ironic, though, is that these pro-lifers who think that life is sacred, when it comes to actual things that work, whether that be vaccines or masks or other PPE or whatever, they're not willing to do it. I find that a little bit ironic. Sure, pro-life, eh?
Thing that I could say would come close to the H-Bomber Guy video on the...
The H-Bomber Guy video on vaccines is really good. This one here. It's a really good video. It's a little bit long, but it's really informative and it goes into a lot of detail.
Anti-vaccine movement. So I'll just point you there instead. The origin of this hesitancy is complex, but the most common culprits are the alternative medicine industry. They're just trying to...
Alternative medicines, like, want to, it's not regulated, so they make a shit ton of money. And they, say shoving, like, crystals up your pussy is going to solve everything. Because your pH is not... it's not, like, in balance or some shit like that.
Grow their margins. Also present is the reactionary anger against what they see as the demystifying of the world. The latter seeks to unexplain the world as it is. They favor a more supernatural, often religious, literalist view of the world.
God.
I know I'm assigning a lot of homework here, but there's a really good video on this subject by Folding Ideas called In Search of a Flat Earth, and I cover it in pretty good detail. It's honestly one of the best YouTube videos on the website, actually. The second source
I
of
haven't watched
vaccine
that video yet. I
hesitancy is
probably
much
should
more
watch that at
credit
some
grab
point.
at this point. It's a potent combination of mistrust in the media and online misinformation. Media distrust is not necessarily an unhealthy thing, though. I, myself, watched profit-driven media figures talk us into pointless wars. It showed a
Not just pointless wars, propaganda, like saying that, oh, the police are good and stuff like that. That billionaires are good, like they solve all the world's problems. And like they're solving all the world's problems right now and a bunch of other crap like that. As well as covering more like fear-based and hatred or hate-covered stories because it gets some more clicks and views. And they don't actually want to touch on some of the good stuff. Say like China's Belt and Road Initiative. That's incredibly good. It opens up trade with Asia, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. But you haven't seen any coverage of that outside of maybe a couple cases. And even if it was covered, it probably wasn't in a good light, for example.
deep rot at the center of journalism. The need to keep advertisers and maintain access to powerful sources led to many of the most significant news institutions becoming more or less stenographers for governments and corporations.
We see these beautiful pictures at night from the decks of these two U.S. Navy vessels in the eastern Mediterranean. I am tempted to quote the great Leonard Cohen, I'm guided by the beauty of our weapons.
It's also easy to make content today without gatekeepers for audiences of millions. I mean,
yep.
Look at me. I'm just some PhD dropout in Canada with a camera who's gotten millions of views on my crap. It's fantastic, which stories like this don't acknowledge. New voices have become prominent. They're changing our conversations, perspectives, and cultural ideas. But being able to post anything means being able to post anything. So misinformation proliferates, and the source's credibility means less and less. Sometimes, like with Facebook and many bad news sites, this is done for money. Bad information.
A lot of places end up doing it for money. It's it happens even on YouTube as well, because like, especially if like you were on YouTube in, oh, what was it, like 2016 or something like that. There was something called the alt-right pipeline, where you started off with something like, say, PewDiePie, for example, and made your way all the way down to fascist rhetoric, like Holocaust denial and like saying Hitler was a good guy and all that crap.
Is attention grabbing, and attention is an invaluable resource. Governments have also gotten into using online misinformation for their geopolitical goals.
It tends to be happening mostly with the conservatives, or just conservatives in general, because they know that they can rally up their base and then get them really violent in it and all that. Like, look at the Convoy, for example.
Sowing chaos or elevating particular perspectives has a lot of benefits in the turf war between rival criminal gangs that we call countries. So this problem will likely haunt scientific developments and cultural milieu forever.
Which is a little bit unfortunate, because when it comes to scientific developments, a lot of that stuff is important. Unless it's like deliberately trying to cause problems. But for the most part, like, most scientific progress is good. It takes a load off the proletariat. It makes, makes us live healthier, longer lives. Like, the cultural aspect, like, that's always susceptible to change. Hell, we're undergoing change right now. A lot more younger people are tend to be left-leaning.
That is, unless something about our communication media and economic system drastically changes.
Yeah,
mainly because
unless we achieve like some form of socialism or communism or something like that.
There's one more major reason people haven't gotten vaccinated. It's one that many neoliberal states...
Oh yeah. So, initially, like, he's gonna mention this, but I'll put my 2 cents in before Tristan does. So, seatbelts weren't necessarily a mandatory thing when cars came out. And you see a lot of libertarians back in the day when cars came out complaining about, the factories being forced to put something into their vehicles that they don't want to, right? And seatbelts save lives, let's be real. And the libertarians, and I imagine like conservatives and the far right probably pushed against that as well. But since they didn't follow, like, basically what it was is, like, each state in the States had to have a seatbelt mandatory by a certain period of time. Or it was like a certain amount of states, I don't remember off the top of my head. But if they didn't follow, or if they weren't able to do that, they would have to put airbags in the car. Alas, it didn't happen, so now we have both seatbelts and airbags, which, I mean, should be the case either way, because both of those things together are very, very good at saving people's lives.
Don't want to bring up divestment from public transit and erosion of workers' rights has...
He is also right about this too. Not funding public transit enough and having it really underfunded, say, like, you know, not having fucking bullet trains, for example, that everyone can use, and eroding workers' rights and having workers have less and less of a say.
Has created people who can't afford to take time off to go get the shot.
Because people have to go into work, and if they face any side effects, from like any medication or anything like that, they can't afford to miss work, right? So if they face side effects and everything and have to stay home, how are they going to pay for their house or their food or whatever, right?
If they do make the trek across the decaying public transit, they literally cannot take time off to deal with potential side effects. Changing that would involve the government spending money on things that aren't the police and military.
And that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing, right?
And that's not popular with donors. Plus, serious side effects might need a trip to the doctor in the US. That's a pricey activity not everyone can afford. But it's much easier to point to the anti-vaccine movement and blame the state's inability to do even basic things for non-wealthy people on them. Okay, but masks, though? Like the Fallout suit, the mask is a simple thing to put on to protect yourself and others. What problem could people have with that? Why are we seeing epic meltdowns over what amounts to a simple common courtesy? Something that not only benefits yourself, but makes the community safe. Well, that last bit there outlines the problem. A minority of people...
The hyper-individualism of the Western world sees everyone, like, outside of yourself as competition. And the less competition you have, the better off you'll be. And, you know, people think that, you know, if they pull themselves up by their bootstraps, they'll be fine and they'll be able to do things by themselves. Instead of working together as a community or as a group to actually get stuff done, because there's inherently more power in numbers.
All tried to claim masks were dangerous or ineffective, but like with the vaccines, they show many signs of working backwards from a decision that they want to make anyway. The arguments about masks suffer from media mistrust and misinformation that more or less defines our era.
But media mistrust isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially like currently, because the media only cares about their profit motive. They don't actually care about spreading the actual truth on what actually goes on. They'll just say what people want to hear, and whatever gets them the most clicks or the most viewers or whatever.
The main reason people seem angry over something so benign and basic isn't so much the masks themselves, but in just being told to do anything. A lot of hostility seems to come from governments mandating things like masks. Even if it's an essential understandable public health measure. These people wouldn't blink about the government running an evacuation order during a hurricane, for example, but putting on a mask during a virulent plague? That's too far, especially because mask wearing helps other people, and anti-mask people seem to have a strong anti-collectivism mentality. Essentially, doing something as part of a group, especially to benefit people who aren't you, is evil for some reason. Who knows? Maybe
it's because of hyper-individualism, as I had mentioned earlier.
Found out that adult oppositional defiant disorder is a thing. There's also a...
Maybe that's what all conservatives have. It's just adult oppositional defiant disorder. Maybe that's what they have.
A political angle to this. Opposition to masking and mask mandates mostly comes from the political right. Studies of those with conservative politics show a strong desire to see suffering in those they dislike. The urge to, quote, own the libs, if you will. So...
Which is one thing I don't understand, like... Liberals are so hard to get mad, and the payoff isn't usually worth it. Conservatives, on the other hand... What is that disorder for those who are educated? I mean, I think you already stated what it was. But yeah, like, liberals are so hard to piss off, and the payoff isn't worth it. Like, I like owning libs too, and it's just not worth it. Compare that to conservatives, on the other hand. It is piss easy to piss off a conservative and get them mad, and the outcomes are usually hilarious. For example, the Keurig scandal. A lot of conservatives were saying that Keurig was too woke and everything, but they were just following marketing trends, right? And they ended up, a lot of these people who were mad about them either bought Keurigs so that they could break them, or they had Keurigs and they decided to break them to try and prove a point. I mean, that's not solving the problem. You're just giving Keurig your money, and it was really funny to watch it.
If the libs are saying thing A, these people will revel in being against it, no matter what. It's a fun combo of childish and sadistic. But the masking issue is actually one where there's much more smoke than fire. Important to note is that
and he is right about that.
Anti-mask folks did cause an uproar, mask use overall was pretty good. As more anti-maskers received their Herman Cain Awards, masking became a more common practice. Now,
and I think it's going to stick around for this foreseeable future. If you are not feeling well or something like that, I imagine it's going to be kind of like how Asia was pre-COVID. You're going to be expected to wear a mask if you're sick, which I was planning on doing anyways. COVID just gave me the perfect excuse to actually, put that into practice.
If only we could adopt that for the age of the variants. It's essential, though, to acknowledge the...
Yeah, the variants do kind of suck, though. It was pretty good early on, but, now you can go into, Walmart and see, no one wearing a mask.
A loud minority can make. And we know how defiant personalities, smoke over flame...
But most people tend to be good. It's only, a couple people that in Walmart that don't do it.
And even misinformation affect these kinds of public health efforts. Because we've seen all of this before. It was over government mandates for something few people would object to today.
He's going to be talking about seatbelts and airbags.
Buckle up for safety, buckle up. buckle up for safety. Always buckle up.
Yeah, the seatbelt. Our kaiju evacuation order. Today, over 90% of people use them, and for a good reason. They're a simple, safe way to protect yourself in the case of a car crash. Buckling up is
And having connections to first responders, I can say that seatbelts 100% do save lives. Because after hearing a lot of the horror stories that tend to happen on the scenes, they said that if some people didn't wear it, or a vast majority of people that wore their seatbelts, if they didn't, they'd be going flying through the windshield and dying on the pavement.
second nature, and it's not seen as some fundamental violation of your freedoms. But that wasn't always the case. Cars began without seatbelts at all, and traffic accidents were causing a lot of death. It's actually kind of wild how cars in general added so much more death to the world, and we kind of just rolled with it. When we started mandating seatbelts in the early 70s, the effort received the wildest resistance. People compared legislators to Hitler. They
especially from conservatives, the alt-right, and libertarians.
Received death threats. Part of the reason was that, like masks and vaccines, they were a little uncomfortable. Yeah, that's really it. The American...
I mean, yeah, I will admit sometimes a seatbelt is a little bit uncomfortable, but I know that the pros outweigh the cons. You know, being alive is way better than being dead.
Motto should definitely be "Give me convenience or give me death." But most people hated seatbelt mandates on ideological grounds. 86% of people surveyed believed that seatbelts save lives, but fewer than
I can only imagine the pain if I had boobs. I mean, I have boobs, and it doesn't really cause me too much pain.
half actually wore them. Only 30.
It's just a little bit of a mild inconvenience more than anything. But I'm willing to deal with it. And since I've heard like all the horror stories from first responders and all that, that's one of the main reasons why I will not start to move my car unless everyone is buckled up. Because I don't remember if you've been in, or I don't know if you've been in my car or not, but anyone who doesn't, like, I only have 3 main rules in my car. You have your seatbelt on. You take your shit out of my car if you had something to eat or drink. And you don't smoke in my car. Those are the 3 main rules of my car. And I will not start to move my car until everyone's buckled up.
5% of people supported seatbelt mandates. One man voiced his opposition this way. This is not supposed to be Russia, where the government tells you what to do and when to do it. Seatbelt
So yeah, that when people say that there's like no new Red Scare, no, there is. Instead of Russia or the USSR, which she was probably referring to in this case, it's now China. Because China bad, right?
Legislation stalled and stopped many times in the 70s. They faced significant backlashes every time. Ronald Reagan tried to loosen safety standards, but the Supreme Court blocked him. Seeing seatbelts as a political hot potato, efforts shift towards airbags instead. Unfortunately, airbags are a much more expensive technology for car companies. In the end, the cheapness of car manufacturers is what won the seatbelt mandate.
Yep.
Reagan's Transportation Secretary Elizabeth Dole tried to get airbags in cars by telling the manufacturers they needed to get 2/3 of states to pass.
Seatbelts are just a way of saving lives. Please wear your seatbelts and save your life. Absolutely. Airbags do help with that as well. But yes, no, everyone should be wearing their seatbelt. But like Tristan was touching on earlier, it's the mask thing is like the exact same thing that happened with seatbelts. People are just making a big stink out of it for really no reason.
Seatbelt mandates, or they'd need to install airbags. Despite lobbying efforts, they couldn't get all states to pass them by their deadline of April of 1989. They still managed to get a lot of states on board, though. In the end, they had to install airbags, and the US adopted seatbelt mandates. Today, only New Hampshire doesn't have seatbelt laws, and almost everyone there wears one anyway.
Which is crazy. Like, you would expect people from New Hampshire not to do that, but like, I mean, it's okay that, or it's good that, you know, a lot of people wear it anyways. It saves lives.
However, what's important to note is that they too had misinformation about seatbelts.
Mm-hmm.
People claimed they were more dangerous than not wearing them. Anti-seatbelt people got...
It's the exact same thing with like the anti-mask movement. Oh, if you wear a mask, and like, I'm talking about properly. If you wear a mask, you can't breathe and you're breathing on your own CO2 and you can suffocate and die.
Mad, made threats, and complained as mandates went into place anyway. Adoption kept increasing. And today, the idea of being an anti-seatbelt crusader seems silly outside of maybe the Libertarian Party.
I'm a white male, age 18 to 49. Everyone listens to me, no matter how dumb my suggestions are.
Oh, fuck. Old school Simpsons was great.
Thank the obvious benefits borne out in road fatalities. But we can also thank consciousness raising through ad campaigns and exposés on the necessity of seatbelts. Like, for example, Ralph Nader's Unsafe at Any Speed. But we don't have the luxury of time. COVID can...
That was a great use of The Simpsons. I mean, early Simpsons has some really funny stuff, though. If you haven't, like, early Simpsons is, like, pure gold. Like, it's actually, like, there actually are some unironically, like, leftist jokes in there. Early Simpsons is really funny.
Continues to mutate. And as of December of 2021, the pandemic doesn't seem to have an end in sight. In fact, we just got announcements today
Gold like The Simpsons themselves. Yes, absolutely.
About how Ontario is basically going to have every single citizen get the new Omicron variant before the winter is over. What I'm trying to say is that we don't have time for ad campaigns to stop the spread of this virus. Do we try something different?
He's
Do we
right.
reach out to our loved ones who have gone down a Facebook hole into utter insanity? Do we just give people facts and just hope that they come to conclusions on their own, unprodded? Sure, those are good options, but it seems that the only thing that can win them over is time and consequences. But unfortunately, that's a lousy answer, because unlike seatbelts, when you fail to do these basic health measures, you get others killed. It might be anticlimactic, but please let us know if you have an answer to this. We're kind of struggling here. The only advice I can give is to be a good example yourself. Get vaccinated. Wear a mask. Social distance and such. If someone is hesitant and not working backwards from a conclusion, educate them. Oh yes, and enjoy the sweet curative relief of horse pain.
Oh, he's referring to ivermectin. Oh, that's great. God damn it, Tristan, that was funny.
Hey, I haven't plugged my Patreon in a while.
All right.
I'm currently...
So that's why people won't follow public safety measures. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Should we watch more Marketplace? If we do, it might be like one episode or so. the next episode of Marketplace, we'd probably watch. Sure, more Marketplace. All right. We're gonna be watching the supermarket one of Marketplace.
This is your marketplace. Supermarket secrets inside the biggest chains.
They're missing a good quality control program.
Hidden cameras and lab tests.
6 of those swabbers.
From food safety.
High risk on causing food poisoning. This milk product is going to spoil very fast.
To pandemic protocols.
There's no soap in the bathroom.
And what's the germiest surface in your grocery store?
I'm literally shocked.
We've got your back. The dirty truth about supermarkets starts now.
I mean, supermarkets are just gross in general. I'd rather have like one giant community mess hall and then everyone just, you know, go eat there. I'm all for that.
Hidden cameras? Check.
All right, this is gonna be fun.
Let's do this. Canada's largest grocery chains? Check. How safe is...
I'm kind of anticipating on this episode to be good, but it's gonna be really hard to follow up on last episode of Marketplace that we watched, because my man was a legend.
Your supermarket. We're about to find out. We're testing cleanliness, safe food temperatures.
This one's at about 16.5.
And COVID protocols.
Where do we get the cart? Are they sanitized?
Yeah.
We've got 7 years worth of health inspection records for the big chains: Loblaws, Sobeys, Metro, Costco, and Walmart. We visit stores with some of the most serious infractions. We'll dish the details soon. But first, meet Kirk Comrie. He says he got COVID-19 after shopping at his local Toronto Loblaws back in April. His wife, Ashley, got sick too.
This was in 2020, by the way.
Early March, we were basically self-isolating in the house, going out as little as possible. Ashley never left the house, and myself only going out for absolutely necessary trips, like going out for groceries.
What was having COVID like?
Having COVID was frightening. It is nothing like the flu. It is like a dump truck full of flu sitting on your chest. It came on so fast. Like, it went from, I have a nagging cough, to a massive fever and breathing issues.
Kirk says he saw a few red flags at the store. His biggest concern? The crowd. This is a photo of you, you're wearing your mask, and then there's a long lineup of shoppers behind you, waiting to...
I mean, Kirk seems like a pretty nice guy. All things considered. He seems like a pretty nice guy.
check out.
There was this lineup that went sort of past the tills and down past the...
And, like, he's the only person wearing a mask in this photo. But, like, to be fair, it was 2020. I think early 2020, right? No, later 2020. There's no excuse then. But it was 2020, and I think this guy might be wearing one. I can't tell, though. But he's, like, the only person in this photo that's wearing a mask that I can see.
The freezers.
And properly, too.
It went
Good
the
on
entire
Kirk.
width of the store, and then about 15 feet along the back of the store. There had to be 30 people standing in line waiting to check out, because they only had 3 tills open. It was basically a half an hour wait in a lineup full of people. And as you can see in the picture, you know, maybe 20% of them are wearing masks.
Masks were not required in Toronto supermarkets at the time, but Kirk was wearing one anyway, because Ashley is immunocompromised.
I mean, I honestly think that we should be wearing one regardless. Like, every single flu season. Because the flu does kill a decent amount of people. Granted, it provides to be immunocompromised people and people that tend to be older, but I mean, you're still saving lives.
I texted Ashley and sent her these pictures and was like, this is crazy.
I know conservatives will
Like,
disagree with me on that, though.
This is not cool.
Days later, he gets these emails from Loblaws saying 2 employees tested positive for COVID-19. Kirk and Ashley also test positive.
I hope his wife is okay.
It's been really, really difficult.
She was in hospital for about 3 days and seemed to be sort of stabilized when her oxygen levels suddenly tanked. Yeah, so at that point, they rushed her into ICU, and she spent the next 3 to 4 days fighting for her life. I spent...
And this is just regular COVID. This wasn't the Delta variant, which was way much more deadly.
More than several days, very worried that I was not going to see her again.
And I would be worried too.
Time for us to see what's going on inside the big chains. We visit stores in Canada's largest city, Toronto, with a long list of serious infractions, including this Metro.
Hi there.
This store in North Toronto had pest problems as far back as 2016. So what do we find when we go in? Sure enough, we see flies in the bathroom.
I mean, it's, to be fair though, it is summer, or like the tail end of summer, and flies tend to get in like constantly to like, yeah, like anyone would be worried, absolutely. But like flies would be getting into the store either way, so you can't really do anything about that.
And some more in the meat section, like this one that doesn't seem to move.
Thank you.
Jim Chan knows the do's and don'ts as a retired Toronto health inspector. We show him our hidden camera video at an independent grocery store after hours. What's his take on the flurry of flies?
Automatic doors are a huge reason why there's flies. I mean, yeah, there is more than just that, though. Like, you also have to consider... Oh, sugar? I have to watch that one at some point. I mean, even manual doors, you can still get flies in. So it's not really surprising, to be honest with you. Just add a lot more of that. Is there any other ones? I think that should be... I think that's all of them, right? Yeah, that should be good. Alright, let's continue. Giving a reason. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like,
I think the staff
automatic
check
doors
for
are really
things
bad for
like
that.
To me, that's just being not just careless, but they're missing a good quality control program.
I'm pretty sure that fly is dead.
They're supposed to be doing their own daily health inspection before they should even...
I mean, like, the employees are not paid enough to give a shit, though. So I can't necessarily say I blame them. They're, like, making minimum wage at best.
be open to the public. So to me, something like this, if you can see it, if customer like myself can see it, why can't the staff seeing that and then remove it?
As for pandemic protocols, we see hand sanitizer and an employee cleaning baskets.
They're clean, right?
Masks are now
course
mandatory
they're clean.
indoors in Toronto, and wearing them properly is essential. But that's not what we see during this spot check. Look at this guy in the meat department. His mask is under his chin.
He's gotta protect his nussy, brother. That's where you catch the virus.
And we see one employee with no mask at all, standing and talking to another staffer.
Management are responsible for training.
That guy's onto them. He saw the camera. It's game over. Time to go somewhere else.
Staff on health and safety issue. Why no manager or anyone that asks that staff member to actually put the mask back on or tell this individual that don't put the mask down.
Next on our list, food temperatures. We've got an infrared thermometer to test things out. Cold food should be 4 degrees or colder.
This one's at about 16.5.
Doesn't sound right. So we check out and check in with Jim Chan. We don't waste time. Jim starts testing the internal temperature of the cold stuff within minutes.
It's showing about 15.2.
I mean, companies are just trying to save a little bit of money, right? Just a little bit of money. They're just trying to save money. That's all that they're trying to do.
2 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's way over the 4 degree.
Remember when people were going crazy about toilet paper? That was the dumbest thing I've seen in people for a while. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like, it was kind of funny though, to be honest. Because like, I kind of understand where people were coming from. Like, you know, if you're gonna be, like, everyone thought that they were gonna be trapped in quarantine for, like, months, right? So, they ended up getting supplies that they needed a lot of, and toilet paper just happens to be one of them. But that really only happened in North America, partially because we're the dumbest continent, and also Australia. Like, everywhere else had toilet paper. It was, you know, it was fine. I do miss early COVID days though. Early COVID days were great.
11 degrees warmer than it should be. So if I picked up this sushi, you know, for lunch, and I ate it, what would be the risks?
If they've been sitting around in the refrigerator.
I mean, why are you buying like fast sushi from a grocery store though? It's not as bad as like a gas station sushi thing, but it's the level right above. Like, I would rather go to like an actual Japanese place that sells sushi because I trust it more. Unless it's in the case of a vegetarian sushi, but I still wouldn't eat that.
Refrigerator there last night or even this morning, anything over 4 or 5 hours, there's a risk of pathogenic organisms which can actually cause quite a bit of diarrhea. Okay.
We're gonna try the marinated small.
Also, look at how much like single-use plastic is here. Like, this is so stupid. Like, all this can't be recycled anyways, so. But like, I do get that there is a point to have some single-use plastics, like straws, for example, with people with disabilities. But like, this shit, like, no, this stuff doesn't need. Just bring a reusable container. It was funny, but that goes to show how dumb North America is. I mean, yeah, North America is the dumbest continent. Like, we are so stupid. Like, Canada is stupid. America is stupid. Like, fuck. We are just so dumb. And like, Australia like kind of falls into like North American stupidity as well, because they're pretty much like us, except a little bit more conservative. But North America is the dumbest continent on the planet, no questions asked.
Octopus. And the octopus
is around between 17 to 20.
That's up to 16 degrees warmer than the required temperature.
That is actually an excellent incubation for bacteria. They will just grow like crazy in there.
As a former health inspector,
they have the excuse of the fact that they're upside down. I mean, yeah. all their blood's going to their head, so.
Inspector, what would Jim Chan do?
Get rid of it.
These ribs and chicken are at a safe temperature, so we can eat that for lunch.
Yes.
They get Jim's stamp of approval, but the rest of it would be a crucial infraction.
Well, you should be generally concerned about, like, seafood anyways. I would go to a place that actually serves seafood and ask for sushi grade stuff if you want to eat it raw. And if you do end up going to get sushi grade seafood, you should be getting stuff that smells like the ocean. I mean, yeah, but like sushi is meant to be eaten like that though, and octopus, like you could eat it, but I personally think it's way better raw.
If they have repeats, one or even twice, that should be a chargeable offenses. And then the inspector can actually issue a ticket.
Turns out that's exactly what happened with this store in 2017. After getting caught twice for not keeping food cold enough, they were convicted and fined $460.
That's it? Only $460? That's nothing. It should be like 10 times that amount.
We find more temperature troubles at this metro in downtown Toronto. Okay, you got the goods?
Yep. Let's start with the cold first. Yeah. And it's actually
It means nothing to a
holding
company.
around
Yeah, absolutely. They make
9.4.
way more than that.
This one
That's
actually
chump
got
change.
raw fish inside too.
Yeah.
It's actually higher temperature.
Yeah.
Okay.
10.5.
10.5.
So if a customer took this home, how bad would it be?
If it's a hot day, you continue to have it at room or warm temperature for another couple of hours. It's actually quite high food safety risk, and may actually high risk on causing food poisoning.
And that's why when you buy sushi and intend on eating it raw, you should always be getting you should always be going to a trusted place, not like fucking Walmart, to get your sushi. And, you know, making sure that it's sushi grade. Because if it's not sushi grade, they don't care.
Food poisoning.
That's right, because you have a combination of rice, you got raw fish, and those are actually handmade product too.
Wow. Do you
Okay.
want to check out this table cream?
Yeah, the reading kind of steady at around 11 or 9 to 12. This milk or milk product is going to spoil very fast, even get at home. Probably way before the best before date, because it's not sitting at the safe temperature.
The hot food we test is hot enough.
So yeah, this one is safe.
But Jim says this supermarket needs to do better. If you were on the job still, would you write this store up?
Oh yeah.
We share our findings with Metro and they decline our request to come on camera. They tell us that they take the issues we outlined very seriously and immediately rectify them. And they add the stores we visit.
I mean, that's just like saying that, you know, if an employee does something, you know, not good, like especially if it's higher up, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we're investigating into it. Don't worry." It means nothing.
Visited have passed all of their health inspections over the last 2 years. Are supermarkets doing enough to keep you safe? Were you worried about getting COVID when you would go into work?
Yeah, all the time.
And which supermarket surface is the germiest?
I'm shocked. I'm literally shocked.
I'm actually kind of curious to see which surface has the most bacteria on it. I'm actually genuinely curious.
Get more Marketplace. Sign up for our weekly newsletter at cbc.ca/marketplace. This is your Marketplace. We're putting some of the biggest grocery chains to the test in a supermarket spot check.
Supermarket showdown. First to the bottom, or race to the bottom.
Kirk Comrie believes he got COVID while shopping at Loblaws in April. His wife Ashley got sick too, She's recovering in hospital. Kirk hasn't seen her in person for 6 weeks.
Sag.
Hi.
Hello. You look very good today.
Ashley feels Loblaws could have done more.
And I'm sure they had policies, but you need to make sure that those are actually being implemented.
I love you.
I love you.
Cute.
Bye, baby. Love you.
What's going on inside the store now? We're on the case. When we go in, we see clean carts, hand sanitizer, and plenty of space to physically distance. But at the fish counter, this employee uses his phone and then serves us, putting a glove on without washing his hands.
Hi.
I mean, come
can I
on,
get
my
some
man.
Salmon, please.
Should he have washed his hands
Yeah.
before he handled her food?
Wearing gloves seems to be, look, I don't have to wash my hand because I have been using gloves. Gloves is actually worse than dirty hands because why dirty gloves can actually carry more contamination, okay, than your hands. Because your hands get dirty, you wash it. When the gloves get dirty, if you don't throw that away.
I mean, but who's using the same gloves over and over? Unless you're like, say, at Subway, and like you're an employee at Subway and don't have the time to, you know, change your gloves every single time. That's the only time when I can actually think of that, you know, coming up. Drink the sanitizer. I mean, like I said, early COVID was incredible because you literally had people suggesting, you know, drinking bleach to cure COVID. Remember when Trump did that? Those were wild times, man.
It actually can be very
And then like Lysol had to come out and say don't drink bleach.
heavily contaminated.
We're on our way to catch up with a former grocery worker who has his own hand-washing concerns. Lucas Lee was a cashier at Fortino's, owned by Loblaw.
I really didn't
It was
think
wild
about
times.
my own safety until I actually got behind the register and, you know, saw like hundreds of people pass me by, coughing, not wearing masks. It wasn't until I actually started that.
Remember back in like 2020 COVID where like when it was such a new thing and such a novel thing, and you saw people like either wearing their masks improperly, like below the nose, and then you like let off a little cough and then like they pull it up. that was really funny. Oh, I miss those days.
I realized this job is actually kind of dangerous.
And to make
and yeah, no, these kind of jobs are 100% dangerous, especially in a pandemic. They're not paid enough to do this shit.
Matters worse, in the employee bathroom.
We'd ran out of soap in early May. The soap dispensers were out. We had two. One never worked, and the one that did work was out of soap.
So you couldn't wash your hands after going to the bathroom?
Right. I would think that they should have had more diligence in such an extreme time like the pandemic was.
But bro, unfortunately, they don't give a shit about you. You're just a disposable thing for them. Like the soap dispenser. Which really sucks. You shouldn't be having to put up with that crap. Nowadays I could say that smoking weed could cure COVID. I have no evidence to support that, but it didn't stop Trump in 2020. I mean, you could probably still say that, and a bunch of dumbasses would still believe you. Because people were willing to take horse dewormer and shit out their intestines just to not take a simple shot. Like you know. But don't worry. The horse dewormer tasted like apples. It's okay. So yeah, you had people in the hospital for COVID, and you had other people in the hospital for shitting out their intestines because they decided to eat horse dewormer.
Health inspection records reveal a previous hand-washing infraction at this Fortino's. What's going on now? We see wipes to clean your cart and hand sanitizer at the front. But we see some employees with masks under their chin.
God protect the Missy, brother.
Don't just give staff masks to put on, okay? You have to tell them to put on and use that properly. If not, that's...
The taste is what I was mostly worried about. It's okay, it was apple flavored. Not the fact that I could die. The fact, I mean, yeah.
Really no reason to even issue masks, right?
And in the public bathroom?
What do you know? They're out of soap.
This is empty. So there's no soap?
No soap? We tell employees at the store.
Excuse me, there's no soap in the bathroom. Okay.
They refill the soap, but should it be the public's job to tell them about it?
Should never, they say it shouldn't be up the public's job.
So what they should do is hire more workers then. Because a lot of the workers that work at convenience stores or supermarkets tend to be overburdened with work. They have a lot of work to do, and like for them, I think that they probably think that it's not a high priority. Otherwise, they're just going to be getting yelled at their boss. 100%. They should definitely be hiring more workers and pay them properly.
And even it shouldn't be the health inspector job to babysit the store.
Lucas is not surprised. He quit Fortino's after 2 months on the job. He says putting his safety at risk was no longer worth it.
And like the people that worked at like supermarkets and stuff like that, they should have 100% been getting paid hazard pay, but they didn't. And they still should be getting paid hazard pay because they're still putting their lives on the line.
We tell Loblaw about our findings, including what we heard from Kirk and Lucas. They won't come on camera, but say they've invested hundreds of millions of dollars in safety measures and protocols, including temperature checks, masks, and gloves for employees, even when it wasn't required. As for no...
Yeah, no, you did it only when the government wanted you to do it.
Soap in the public bathroom when we visited, they apologized for the lack of soap at that specific time. What are you thinking?
Well, I certainly won't be shopping here anytime soon, I can tell you that.
Not long after Kirk shopped here, this store voluntarily closed for 2 weeks for a deep cleaning. Both Toronto
wonder
Public
why.
Health and Loblaw say there was widespread community transmission.
Like, companies are like so afraid of Marketplace now. It's great. Like, as soon as they do an expose on like a company or like something like that, and they find out that Marketplace is there, they're gonna be like, oh, we better close down and like make things a little bit better. It's fucking awesome.
Of COVID-19 at the time Kirk and Ashley got sick, so it's difficult to pinpoint how they were infected. Kirk says in hindsight, he would have left that crowded store. His advice for other shoppers?
Well, I would say it falls to the individual to sort of maintain their own safety. Wear a mask, remain socially distanced, and get in and get out as quickly as possible.
He's right.
And now, this is the moment Kirk has been waiting for. It couldn't come quickly enough. Ashley gets discharged after 8 weeks in hospital. She gets a big...
Holy, she was in there for 8 weeks? That's kind of sad. It has to be Marketplace that calls this stuff out. And the companies are like, oh shit, our public image is at risk. Probably, like... But I don't really know. Like, I think it was like the Mad Lad from last episode, absolutely, but like I think they just don't know if it's gonna be that Mad Lad from last episode. Because that guy was crazy. It was fucking awesome too, though.
Big, warm welcome.
Reunited and it feels so good. I'm glad she's okay.
Which supermarket surface is the germiest?
I'm shocked. I'm literally shocked.
Okay, so which supermarket surface has the most germs? This guy, which one is this guy shocked by? No, not the stock of the company. We just need to stay high so we can make more money. Absolutely. Which surface is going to have the most germs on it in a supermarket? Cash registers? I am willing to say I'm gonna say carts, probably. Either carts or like the handle that you use to get in like into the freezer. I have a feeling that might be one of them. I have a feeling it might be one of the two. That's really the only things I can reasonably say, because like the cash registers, like most people just tap to pay unless it's over $100. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait, watch and see.
Time for the big reveal on your marketplace.
Okay, that's a little bit disingenuous though. They did the front of the cart. That's already going to be skewing things a little bit.
Marketplace at cbc.ca. This is your marketplace.
Okay, let's get our samples.
Our swab squad is going into Canada's biggest chains, 24 stores in all, to rank which supermarket surface is the germiest. Swabbing basket handles, the debit machine, freezer door handles.
I have a feeling that this or the cart is going to be the dirtiest. It's going to be one of the two. I just feel it.
And shopping carts from front to back.
Okay,
testing for bacteria.
But like the front is a little bit disingenuous, because who is grabbing onto the front of the shopping cart? Like most parents won't even let their kids do that. So.
Bacteria and E. coli. All the major chains say they've beefed up their cleaning protocols during the pandemic, so we're putting that to the test.
It's mostly just like the bare minimum, like the places that the places that get the most traffic and stuff, like are touched the most.
We collect the samples, pack them up, and take them to a lab. A couple of days later, our results are in. We asked microbiology expert Jason Tetro to break it down for us.
What do we got?
It's very good for us to be able to understand where microbes are and how we can both live with them but also stay safe.
Just eat the cart. So that might be an outlier. I mean, I have a feeling that the cart probably will be an outlier though, because they did like the front and the back, not the place that they actually clean. Because I mean, let's be real, carts are really fucking dirty. They're just nasty.
Time for the big reveal. Coming in at number 5, the shopping cart handle, which turns out to be pretty clean.
I'm actually not surprised by that.
I'm literally shocked. It turns out that, yes, indeed, that wiping every single time that you go by as you're going into the store has been working. They were clean. The germ guy is complete.
Okay, well, I'm a little bit wrong on that. So, I guess that they are the cleanest then.
Shocked.
Germ guy approved.
Yes.
Next up, the baby seat.
This was a surprise. Baby seats normally.
Okay, carts are still on the menu. I mean, yeah, but like the two last places are like are some of are like two cart places, the handle and the baby seat. Like the only thing that they actually have left is the front of the cart, but like realistically, who's going to be touching that though?
Would be one of the highest contaminated places on a shopping cart. But instead, we found almost nothing on those plates. Whatever is being done on those shopping cart handles, probably there's some of the liquid that's coming while it's being sprayed and it's getting onto that baby seat, and so whatever happens to be there is getting killed.
Diving into some germier surfaces now, it's a tie for the next spots, the freezer door handle and the front of the shopping cart.
Okay, I knew that the shopping cart was gonna be, the front was gonna be kind of gross, but man, I am doing bad.
You should not necessarily be touching the freezer door without hand sanitizer right afterwards.
And the runner-up, the basket handle.
Wait, what?
There's lots of bacteria.
No way.
The basket handle is not getting
No
the same
way.
attention as the
There's
shopping
no
cart
shot.
handle. The shopping cart handle is now the benchmark. What should we be looking for when it comes to a bacterial number? Well, now we know. We should be doing as good as the shopping cart handle, but we're not.
Now for the number 1 surface with
No
the most
shot.
bacteria in a grocery store. The pin pad.
The pin pads were
Bro.
incredibly germy. We saw lots of bacteria. They were the germiest. That tells me that the work that's being done to sanitize the debit pads is not.
Well, I thought for sure that like the pin pad, okay, that does make sense, but like most people tend to use tap though. That's where my thing is coming from. Or my perspective is coming from. Like I fully expected that to be a little bit cleaner. I expected like some form of handle to be more dirty.
Not enough.
And especially like considering that most, at least I know out here, tends to wipe it down at the very least.
It really is something that we need to be taking a closer look at and maybe doing some better disinfection protocols.
What do you say to people who believe, well, it's not that bad. I'm not eating off the debit machine.
So the first thing you have to realize.
Most people probably won't wash their hands or use hand sanitizer afterwards, so.
Is you touch your face about 16 times every hour. You cannot help it. That's just who you are.
And that's one way that bad germs can make you sick. Our test found bacteria, but no E. coli anywhere.
Now, when we walk into a grocery store, we actually have hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer, as we all know, is really good at getting rid of E. coli.
Jason has some tips the next time you're on a shopping trip. To avoid the pin pad, tap your card.
So if you can go
I thought most people tap their cards anyways.
contactless, that is the optimal option for you.
What do you do when you go to the grocery store?
So for me, it's all about.
The tap thing makes sense, but also that thinking what led to them to not sanitize the pin pad. I mean, I know some places sanitize the pin pad after every use. But this is also in October of 2020, so.
Hand sanitizer. Your own hygiene has to become routine. And the more that you adopt this in your regular life, then it becomes easier when you go into a place like a grocery store.
Take matters into your own hands.
Take your health into your own hands, absolutely.
Some food for thought as you shop. Undercover at Canada's busiest airport.
David, anybody else on the radio?
Yeah, I'm in the parking lot.
I think they're coming over.
A lucrative cargo.
Hello!
investigating the international trade of puppies.
Twice a year, we're babysitting dogs.
Doggies.
Questionable claims.
Doggos.
Where does the mom come from?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Got some clear here.
The dog was alive. That's pretty much the bare minimum to get through.
Who's behind it all?
The Lexus and
I like dogs too.
They're taking 427 northbound now.
It's the ultimate pandemic price check. We're asking for the highest price hikes you've ever seen. We hear from you about Shoppers, Sobeys, Canadian Tire, Walmart, Oceans, Amazon. Who's ripping you off? And are they getting
all are.
away with it?
If you're out
They're all ripping you off, and yes, they're getting away with it.
there trying to price gap.
Because I mean, you really think fucking Doug Ford won't allow like Walmart to not get away with it? It's crazy.
You're done. You're gone.
Tough talk.
We're going to go after you and throw the book at you.
Any action? 500 milliliters, $19.99.
That's obscene.
Your marketplace, always on the case.
Okay, it wasn't as good as the last episode. The last episode was really good. I watched a different one a long time ago where they talked about like how supermarkets get you to spend a lot of money. I just don't know where it is. Might be in here somewhere. Let's see. The last episode, inspiration. Yeah, it was great content. I loved it. I really want my Mad Lad to come back. Man, Marketplace has been so much fun though. Is it not here? Yeah, I'm probably gonna head off too. Have a good night, man. And have a good night to everyone else who stopped by.